Welcome everyone to our release Condor Chat release edition. I'm Joe Burnett. I'll be your host today, and I got Mike Stake here co-hosting. This is our second release. We had a release 2 weeks ago, so we're excited to get, we had 6 birds released on November 28th, and now we're going for the last 4 that we're releasing today at our San Simeon release site. That's the view right next to me over here. That's a live feed, courtesy of explore.org and Ranch Wi-Fi. And that is a live feed of the release pen. You can see right now it just went to the the front part of the release pen, what we call the DDT, the double door trap. And we have some rookies in there that are ready to fly. It's a pretty active day down there. I've been watching this morning, and down there at the San Simeon release site, we have our field crew stationed inside the blind, and they are on the panel here. So I'm going to stop sharing here real quick so we can see everybody. And here we go. So I'm going to spotlight you guys for everyone. Say hi. There they are.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Good morning.
So from left to right there, we have Maeve Mullen. Wave everybody.
Yeah, that's me. Hello.
Isaiah Woodard and Danae Mouton. Isaiah and Maeve are our intern extraordinaires. They've been down there holding down the fort. And of course, Danae's our condor biologist. And say hi to everybody. But yeah, it's been pretty darn active this morning, hasn't it?
Yeah, there's lots of activity out there right now. We've had a handful of wild birds show up, and the rookies that are still in the pen seem really ready to go. They're just pacing back and forth.
What's the weather looking like? You know, I think that's probably the #1 thing we check out before we release birds. How we looking?
Yeah, it's pretty ideal today. We got beautiful blue skies, a nice breeze, but not too crazy windy at all. And yeah, beautiful sunny day. So couldn't really ask for a better one.
That's awesome. Yeah, so how did it all go? You guys have been prepping the last couple days, right? Getting ready for release. Maybe just share real quick what you guys have been doing to prep for the big day.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it has involved monitoring the birds that we still have captive, as well as monitoring the birds that have already been out in the wild and seeing how they're behaving. A little bit of prep has gone into in and around the pen, making sure the doors can open and close. They're kind of a clear runway for birds to get through. We've put a lot of food out on the slope for them to kind of coax them out onto the slope, so nobody's tempted to sleep in here. And yeah, I'm trying to think what else, but we've set up a bunch of cameras to try and capture as many angles of the release as we can. So yeah.
Yeah, and you had to do some night work, right? Last night.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you guys give an update as part of the presentation we're going to give here in a little bit. Give everyone an update on the 6 birds we released a couple weeks ago. I think everybody's anxious to hear how they're doing, so we're excited to hear that news. We have some special guests here, which I'm going to introduce shortly. It's going to be an exciting day. We also have a classroom joining us from Los Padres Elementary School. That our education crew is there. Patty's there with their class, with Jeff Smallwood's second grade class, and the second graders are excited to wave to everybody. Patty, there she is. So she's going to be joining us later with the classroom. So we're excited. They have some cool stuff to share. They've been working on some projects, and Patty's got some really cool stuff to show us, and I'm going to include that in my presentation.
Hey, Joe, where is that classroom located for our viewers here?
Oh, yeah, good point. Yeah, Los Padres Elementary School in Salinas, California. Patty, you can take it from there. I see you unmiked yourself.
Yes, so we're in Mr. Smallwood's second grade class right now. The students are currently at recess. We will be having our video camera off for most of the time since they are doing their daily activities. But we are in Salinas, California. We came today to do the condor release with the students. We came yesterday to do a few activities with them, and they're really excited to present all the drawings and activities that they created for you guys today.
Oh yeah, and we are excited to see them. That's awesome. So will you guys be joining us back at around 10 o'clock, Patty?
Yes, at
Awesome.
10.
Okay, 10:10.
Yes.
Awesome. Great.
And I might add that Collins Elementary School kindergarten class in Pinole, California has joined us as well. They say hello from the chat.
Awesome. Very cool. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get into the presentation. We got a lot of cool stuff to show today. I got some videos. I got lots of photos from the crew. Isaiah and Maeve have given us some updated photos of some of the release birds. They've been chasing them around the last couple of weeks. So I'm excited to show that. Let's get going here. And just to forewarn everyone, bear with me through my my Zoom skills are a little, not exactly perfect. So there we go. How's that look? We good?
Pretty darn close to perfect there, Joe.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. So thanks for joining everybody. Ventana Wildlife Society, we started these, the Condor chats actually came about during COVID. It was a way we saw to kind of, when everybody was locked down, we used it as a tool to communicate with everybody how the project was going, how the project was doing, how the birds were doing, and to just provide monthly updates. So we've continued it since, obviously since the lockdown stopped, because they've become such a great tool. And now we even have incorporated them into our live releases. So we're using all this cool technology to bring condors to your living room and classrooms, and so we can share the excitement we see with the birds as biologists, and let everybody join in on the fun here and celebrating releasing these birds today. Okay, come on there, PowerPoint. There we go. So today's agenda, just real quick, just to give an overview, I'm doing the introduction right now. I'm going to get into the Condor chat presentation. This is kind of a normal thing we do with our Condor chats. We're actually going to link in with Los Padres Elementary School at around 10:10, and then probably around 10:20, 10:30, we'll do the release, and we'll have the students do the countdown to opening the doors, and then the crew will open up the doors, and then we'll stick around. Mike will be taking a lot of questions, and myself and the crew and Alacia and Chris, our special guest are here, will help answer a lot of questions about condors in general. And that's the general overview there. And then we'll sign off right at noon, right around there. And again, thanks everyone for joining us today. This is definitely pretty exciting to have everybody here. So real quick, before we get moving ahead, just want to identify the crew, that the Ventana Wildlife Society Condor Crew. I'm the program manager, but also a biologist. Mike is our non-lead, wave your hand there, Mike is our non-lead program manager, but also a biologist. And he wears many hats at Ventana. He does all sorts of bird surveys. He's super knowledgeable. Our Condor crew, we have our Condor biologist. Today we have Danae with us. Last release we had Darren Gross and Kara Fadden. They will not be with us today, but are here in spirit. They're actually going to be out working on our at our quarantine pens today. So I'll have an update on that. And we have, of course, I introduced earlier, our interns, Maeve and Isaiah. And not here today, our GIS specialist, Evan, but he has provided some cool maps, as always. And not joining us as well are Tim Huntington, our database designer and super volunteer, and incredible photographer. A lot of the photos you'll see today in my presentation are courtesy of Tim Huntington. So thanks, Tim. And then, of course, our veterinarian, Amy Wells, won't be here today, but she's been really active with us recently with the what I'm going to give an update on, the highly pathogenic avian influenza. So big shout out to Amy. And again, all of our volunteers, we can't say enough. They've just been incredible, especially this last year. It's just been pretty awesome to have them on board. And without further ado, our special guest. Let's start with Chris first. Thanks for joining us, Chris. Chris is the Yurok Condor Restoration Program Manager. And Chris, last Condor Chat, we had a lot of questions about what's happening up north. So we're excited to have you on. And so get ready for those questions. Micah is going to have them queued up. But yeah, thanks for joining us, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we've had a great relationship with you guys. Obviously, those early trips I was making up there, we were scoping out release sites. Just so awesome to see everything firing on all cylinders up there. I can't wait to hear what's happening. But yeah, you guys have been a great partner, and yeah, we're just glad to have you part of the program.
Thanks.
And Alacia's back. She's been on Condor Chats before. Thanks for joining us, Alacia, from Pinnacles National Park, Condor Program Manager. What's happening?
Good morning. Yeah, happy to be here. It's an exciting day. Hopefully get all the rest of those youngsters out. That'll be great.
And so you're at the national park right now in the Pinnacles, right in the, whereabouts are you? Right at the visitor center area?
Yeah, I'm in our administrative sort of maintenance and resource management area.
And again, like we were talking about Yurok Tribe, we obviously work so closely with Pinnacles National Park and co-managing the Central California flock. And yeah, we can't say enough. You guys really have our backs at all times, and just really happy to have you here. And folks are going to be really excited to hear about how the Pinnacles birds are doing.
Yeah, good to be here. And I agree.
Yeah, we've had some exciting nesting updates, and
yep.
yeah, I have a section for that. We'll want you to jump in.
Great. Sounds good.
But yeah, to both of you guys, thanks for coming. It's always nice to have folks from outside of our project come in and give us updates. So thank you. So we've been working on, Ventana Wildlife Society has been working on a project, documentary project, Condor Canyon, and it's following, we're trying to follow the threads of some of these birds, basically staying as true to the story as we can, and basically letting the footage speak for the birds. And Meredith Evans put together, we've got a collage of clips that I'm going to play right now. Let's see here, let me get it queued up. Here we go. So we are very excited about that project. And we've been working on it. God, we've been working on this for the last year almost. So yeah, a lot of time out in the field. Again, big shout out to Meredith Evans, who put that together and has been out in the field with us, capturing a lot of the footage. And really what we're hoping as a crew is that we can actually capture some of the stuff that we see on a regular basis, some of these magical moments that we see and that we're able to share those with everybody. So yeah, so far so good. And yeah, we'll obviously stay tuned for when this actually comes out. This would be, you know, a big time release, and we'll let everybody know, obviously. Yeah, the rebuild update. So we've been working hard up on the release pen. The release pen is finished, and now we're on the home stretch with the base camp cabin. This is where the crew stays when we're up at our remote Big Sur release site. This is definitely a major improvement from what we had before. Again, the site in 2020 in the Dolan fire, we lost all of our we lost our release pen at Big Sur. We lost our crew cabin, our base camp cabin. And so we were successful in fundraising, thanks to a lot of you and our donors that supported our efforts to rebuild. And we now have, let's see here, and we now have basically the release pen is done, and now we have the cabin. So we're pretty darn excited to have the cabin in the final stretch. Here you can see the nice metal siding going on. They have actually finished up last week. They actually finished up all the siding. So we're pretty excited that. So we have it nice and sealed up for the winter. That's the main thing. So pretty excited about that, and more to come on that. You know, keep coming back to our Condor chats. We're hoping by spring we'll have everything buttoned up out there. But again, it's we're now going into winter, so access and working up there is going to become more difficult. You know, this area in Big Sur really gets hit hard in the winter, and yeah, we're just things might get delayed a little bit, but we're trying to keep pushing. And so here's the HPAI update. The great news, based on results of the vaccine trial, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has determined to move forward with HPAI vaccinations for both captive and wild condors. So that's really great news. The trial results showed the 2-dose approach with an initial injection and a booster was the best option. And titers, antibody titers, indicated the vaccine will reduce the severity of an infection and minimize the likelihood of mortality, which is also really good news. So thus vaccinating condors may provide some protection, even if minimal, could reduce the amount of mortality and decrease the impact to the flock and recovery efforts. The incident command and recovery partners are currently coordinating on the implementation of the HPAI vaccine in the wild and captive flocks. Yeah, we have a meeting in about a week. We're going to meet with the other field teams and start looking at how to administer this to the wild birds. So more to come on there. We'll have more on that topic and updates on that in our January Condor chat. But a major step forward. We got through the trials, and now we're going to be able to start to administer this to the wild birds and protect them. I showed this in our last Condor chat for the last Condor release, but just a good update. We've got an HPAI ready vehicle. We converted one of our trucks, and it has a rigged up a AC unit to keep the camper cool when we have condors in there, and we can store up to 3 condors at a time and transport. So that's going to be really, really helpful in the event we do have an outbreak. We can mobilize with birds in a safe manner. Our emergency HPAI plan, and this is, of course, we're coordinating closely with Pinnacles, our partners over there. We received funding to purchase 10 quarantine pens, and then we coordinated with SPCA Monterey, and they gave us an area, a really secluded area on their property to place the pens. Right now we're going to place 4 of the pens on the SPCA property, possibly more, but we wanted to get 4 up initially, just so we had, in case of an outbreak, a local outbreak, we'd have a way to respond. We also have 6 pens that are available for regional use. 4 of those are most likely going up to Oakland Zoo. They're still working on their site plans to basically to get those in place. So we're kind of on standby with those. And then we're going to leave 2 pens just available to move off site. You know, if in the event there was an outbreak up in Northern California, we can mobilize these pens to assist them, or vice versa down in Southern California. So that would be for, you know, an outbreak outside of our area and to assist our partners. So we kind of are planning to keep those on standby for that. Good news, the quarantine pens are in place. This was we had actually been waiting for the pens for quite a while. They were a special order item from the company that made them. And so it took a little longer to get the pens, but they finally did arrive to SPCA. And just this last week, we assembled them with an awesome group of volunteers. And I have a cool video to show everybody. Another cool video by Meredith.
Hi everyone, this is Joe Burnett. I'm at the Monterey SPCA, and this is the location we've chosen to put our quarantine pens for the condors. Again, these pens will provide the birds a safe haven in the event of an outbreak of highly pathogenic avian influenza. We've spent the last 3 days making major progress. You can see behind me a completed pen. On the first day, we had a group of volunteers show up, and we basically leveled out the sites for the pens, and then actually started putting the actual panels that make up the pens together. And it took a village to do this. It was a lot of heavy lifting on the first day. Day 2 was also a big day. We built the floors, which are in the bottom of the pens, and this was a little more detail oriented, but again, the volunteers really knocked it out of the park. So we were happy to report that after 3 days, we have the pens nearly completed. We're doing some fine tuning on the pens, but we hope to have these up and operational within a few weeks. Big thanks to all of our super volunteers, a stellar group of folks. Big shout out to them. Also for the Pinnacles National Park, also sending over a big group of volunteers, and for the VWS staff who jumped in and helped out. And of course, our veterinarian, Amy Wells, who came out too and helped with some of the heavy lifting. Again, thank you to everyone. Big shout out, obviously, to SPCA for allowing us to place these pens here. And we look forward to giving you more updates, and we feel better now knowing our birds have a safe place to hold out during an outbreak. Thanks, everyone.
So that's exciting. And Alacia is here. She came over and chipped in. Big thank you to Pinnacles. You guys sent that. We couldn't have done it without you. And obviously all our volunteers. It was such a huge day. And I think all of us are very relieved to have that in place, obviously. So again, a lot of the, any of the stuff we do, and you really, it does take a village. You hear that a lot, but it really does. And these pens are going to be really important. It kind of, I think Alacia can agree. We kind of feel a little better now that we have a place to take these birds. There's still some steps we have to do to get these pens finalized, but we're really close. So yeah, pretty exciting. And I just wanted to add a few more pictures. There's Alacia picking up a big panel with Gavin, some other volunteers. And yeah, what did you think, Alacia? How did it all go?
I thought it was great. It was such a fantastic day to be over there and working together on, getting all those pads leveled out, and then snapping together all the walls and the roofs and everything. Quite a bit of troubleshooting, it seemed like, to get everything to really fit together, but it all worked out in the end. And it's just fantastic to see after just a couple of days, such progress. And as you said, I'm really glad that those are ready. I feel a lot better about, where we are going into this winter, and, perhaps they'll even be able to help us as we start vaccinating condors as a place to hold them. So it just gives a lot more flexibility for what we can do with the flock and really efficiently, handle avian flu if it were to hit us. So, of course, we're all hoping these pens really don't have a purpose, but yeah. If we do need them, it's fantastic to have them there. So
Yeah, you
really
hit a good
appreciate
point
all the
there.
work you guys did to coordinate everything and get those ordered and all that. It's amazing.
Yeah, we were definitely, we're just worried. We just wanted to make sure we had a safety
Yeah.
net, guys. But you hit a good point there. We're definitely going to use these to help us vaccinate the birds. We're going to have that meeting here in a week or so to figure out how our approach. Obviously, we're entering breeding season, so that's going to be we got to work around that. But some of these younger birds, we could definitely cycle through here for their 21-day, for their initial, and then it's a 21-day hold minimum for these birds to get the initial and a booster. Honestly, it's very similar to any like recently for, if you got the COVID vaccination, it's a similar thing. You got to wait at least 21 days for the booster. With some of these older birds that especially females, we can't trap them this time of year in case they are actually developing an egg. We don't want to potentially injure them. So we never handle females during breeding season, especially during the egg laying phase. So those birds will have to wait, or at least wait until we know they've laid their eggs before we handle them. And if we did, we would just handle them briefly and get them back out so they can tend to their nests. So yeah, those are going to be a little tougher, but we can definitely get these younger birds. So yeah, that's a big challenge ahead. I mean, it's nice having these pens, but yeah, trapping up the entire flock to vaccinate them is a big task when we have almost 100 birds. So speaking of 100 birds, there we go. Yeah, and it's cool to see the triple digits again. It's been quite a while. Last time we hit triple digits was right before the Dolan fire in 2020. We were just over 100 birds, and so pretty cool to hit that milestone again. Again, we still do have a lot of threats out there. As you always hear us talk about the lead poisoning, it's again right up there. It's our leading cause of death for 2023 again. And unfortunately, we just lost another bird, Pinnacles female 602. Yeah, maybe you can talk a little bit about that, Alacia.
Yeah, 602. Actually, I think 602 is male, but that's totally fine. He was found soon after he died, probably just within a couple of days, kind of near a water trough, which is fairly common when we have lead poisoning cases, but we don't yet have the necropsy report for him. So we wouldn't be surprised if it's another lead poisoning one, but we'll wait to find out until we hear back from the Fish and Wildlife Service lab that does those for us. So, but yeah, definitely a real bummer. 602, if you've ever been to Pinnacles, was a very common bird to be seen around here. He was often in the park, and so it's quite sad for everybody who works with the crew because he was a fan favorite in our area.
Yeah, all these birds, it's always heartbreaking, and especially a bird that is in its prime breeding age. Was he 12 years old, right? I believe right around 12.
I'll have to go look. Hold on a second.
I was thinking the 600 birds in that 12-year-old range, but that's young for a condor lifespan. When these birds live what we suspect at least 50, 60 years in the wild, that's a life cut way too short. And so that's why that work, the non-lead outreach work that Ventana's doing, that Mike's leading up our Not Free Non-Lead program, and the other projects they're doing. I know Chris up north, you guys are doing a lot of outreach, and Pinnacles big time non-lead outreach. So again, it's the number one mortality threat to condors that we face right now. You can look at this chart right here and just see in yellow there, and we suspect 602 might be lead as well. So it's our, if you remove those lead deaths from the picture, you're talking half the number of deaths this year, less than half. You're looking at only 3 deaths, and that it's a big dent in if we can get rid of the lead poisoning factor. So yeah, it's also on the population front, we're going to get into that. Our wild fledged chicks, we'll have updates on those. We have 4 out there. There's 2 over Pinnacles, 2 in Big Sur. We have some exciting updates there on the Big Sur side too. And again, our 2023 release condor rookies we We've got 6 of the 10 out. We're about to have 4 more go out today. Again, that's right here on to the side of me. That's the live feed. We're going to get back to the live feed here pretty soon after we get through the presentation and give everybody an update on what's going on. Missing birds, we still have 2 missing birds. Again, Traveler 171. She's now been missing almost 2 months, or yeah, slightly over 2 months. And Madrone has definitely been missing for quite a while. We actually sent up an airplane to survey on just a couple days ago, and they didn't have any luck finding these birds, unfortunately. So we typically like to wait it out, but it's looking, we haven't given up hope completely, but it's definitely looking a little less likely that these birds are going to turn up. But again, we're going to keep looking. The crews are still searching. Anytime we take signals, we include these birds. So at this point, we're kind of hoping for a miracle for these 2 to show up. It's unfortunate. It does happen. We don't, some of these birds we never do recover, which is really unfortunate. It's sad enough to lose a bird, but to not know what killed it is even, it definitely hits us pretty hard. So yeah, we're going to do our darndest to find these 2, and we'll just keep you posted if we have any developments, obviously, on that front. All right, the nesting update. Yeah, Danae and Alacia, you guys can unmute and help me out with this one. But yeah, we have Big Sur. Yeah, maybe Danae, you can jump in on the Big Sur side.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so we still have 2 successful fledged nests for Big Sur this year. 1204, who we nicknamed Jade. And you all helped us pick out that nickname for that bird, which is awesome. And that bird's parents are Kodama and Amigo, 646 and 204. That bird's been seen pretty regularly by our volunteers out on the coast, and seems to be doing really, really well. Was seen getting some food from a wild carcass, or I say wild, but a non-proffered carcass is what we call it. So some sea lion had washed up that was dead, and 204 and 646 were feeding on that and bringing food back to the chick. So they're not quite confident enough in that chick's abilities to get down to where the food is and make it back up some of the Big Sur landscape. So it's still learning how to fly, still learning how to soar and figuring it out. But I think in just a couple more weeks, it'll probably be almost flying like an adult. It's doing really, really well every time we've seen it, and interacting with other wild birds and harassing its parents for food and all the things it's supposed to be doing. So that's awesome. And then our other chick for Big Sur this year is 1229. Oh yeah, there we go. There's a nice, awesome photo of Jade there on the Big Sur coast, overseeing her domain, his or her domain. We don't know the sex of that chick yet, but yeah, looking really awesome there. Hard to complain about that view growing up, I think. This is another awesome photo from Tim of Jade flying around with those beautiful, fresh, nice, pristine feathers. They don't stay that way for too long out in the wild, but they look very nice and crisp here.
Yeah, it's so nice to see them untagged too.
Yeah. Yes, it'll definitely be, it's always a little bittersweet tagging it untagged, because when we put a tag on, it's really helpful for us to keep track of that bird and to follow its movements. But it is always also really awesome just to see those untagged birds out there flying around. The wild fledges definitely have something special to them. And then our big news this week is our other Big Sur chick, 1229, who we've nicknamed Penny, has made it to the Big Sur Sanctuary, which I don't know, we'd have to go back in the books and see, but this might be the soonest that a Big Sur chick has made it.
It's close. It's definitely close for being back. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it was super exciting to see that. Our volunteer, Callie Condor, who watches our cams, and many of you other Explore viewers who are always watching the cams, you guys noticed this right away and let us know, which was really awesome. So yeah, already seen feeding with the flock, interacting with the wild birds like she should be, which is really, really exciting. And both her
That's
parents,
pretty impressive. I mean, they're usually really timid and jumpy when they first get there to the release site. They're like, oh my God, look at all these birds.
definitely.
To see just right in it. I mean, right there with some of there's some high ranking birds in there. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I like to think, she has some pretty dominant parents. 219's a pretty pretty tough bird, pretty dominant.
That's why I
male,
put this
and
photo in there.
pretty dominant female. So
That's probably
think
why all
they
those birds are
all
being so
walk their
nice. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. But yeah, like you said, usually we see when the young wild fledges first show up at the site, they kind of hang back and they wait until their parents feed and let their parents feed them. But yeah, 1229 just jumped right in there and was like, nope, I'm hungry. I'm going to get it myself. So that's super awesome. We love to see it. Definitely has a very, very tenacious spirit. So we're excited to watch as Penny continues to interact with the rest of the flock, and her parents will continue to keep a really close eye on her and make sure none of the more dominant birds mess with her too much. So really, really cool and awesome to see her there at the sanctuary.
Yeah, and Alacia, what's happening over there at Pinnacles? How those fledglings doing?
Good, and that's so cool about that bird. I had not noticed or hadn't seen the news that she had made it over to the sanctuary, so that's fantastic. Over here at Pinnacles, 2 nests this year, as you said, both of them fledged in October, and both seem to be doing great. One of them has been seen pretty regularly getting closer to the central high peaks in the park. So if folks are coming over to do a hike through the high peaks, there's a chance you could see. That bird is also untagged. So a young condor with nothing on the wings. That's our little one. They aren't so little, really. They're full grown, but you know. And then the other one is doing great, also making more flights and cruising around, but we have yet to see either one make it to our bait site or anything like that. So they're pretty close to those sites, but haven't made the trek over as far as we've seen yet. So any day now, we would expect to see them showing up. And as you said,
Oh, you're breaking up a little bit, Alacia. All right. She'll come back in a second, folks. But yeah, thanks for that, Alacia. And oh, there she is. She's back. You're back.
Sorry, my video just blipped out for a second there. Anyway, all is good. Thank you. And yeah, it's fun to see them starting to use their wings and cruise around.
Yeah, that's a good year. We have 4 wild fledges. That's pretty awesome. That's right up there with our average. I think our best year was 5. We're hoping to hit that 6 mark here pretty soon. Maybe this year. We got a lot of birds queued up. That's January's Condor Chat. We'll have a lot of info on our prospective pairs, so stay tuned for that. I'll share the date at the end of the presentation for the next Condor Chat. All right, tagging day. We did this actually a few weeks ago, but nonetheless, it's always a big task. And so the birds today were part of that tagging mission. Yeah, so that's when they get their ID tags. Those tags on the left, you can see the tag they came up with was the yellow tag. So 1139, I believe, came up from LA Zoo. And then the new tag, and you can see on the left there's a GPS tag and a radio transmitter, and then of course the red 39. And this year's release group will have the underline under the red tag under the number to denote the 1139. Yeah, so they also get a health check, and part of the health check is they get a swab for HPAI. HPAI being highly pathogenic avian influenza. And of course, we had Amy there to administer their booster vaccine. They all came up with one vaccine, except for one bird was fully vaccinated, 1170, who's going out today. And the other 9 received boosters. So Amy was there to administer those. So all the birds are ready to roll. So now we're getting into our rookie update, and this is where I'm gonna hand it off to Isaiah and Maeve, because you guys have been watching these birds really close. But yeah, we have the 6 that were released. I think I'm missing one here actually. Yeah, anyway, we had 6 released, and 11/28. Oh yeah, we got 11/28 went out later. But yeah, maybe you guys can recap what happened the first release day from your perspective down there at San Simeon back on November 28th.
Sure, yeah. Well, we opened the gates with the help of our class that was tuning in that day, counting us down. And the first one out was 11:39. And he just came out kicking butt. I mean, he hopped right down to the food and actually pushed off some adult condors that were out there just sort of briefly. They got him back later, but yeah, he was coming out swinging. Ended up coming back into the pen later, I think. That's one of the updates on that bullet point there. So he was the first and the last one out of the pen in a funky kind of way. But yeah, the rest of them kind of trickled out, and we've been watching them since move around.
Yeah, I think we saw a lot of comments when 11:39 came back in to spend the night with 11:28. Here he was, the first bird to go out, but then came back to keep one of his buddies company. I think was pretty cool. Yeah, and actually Meredith put together a cool little, I'm gonna stop sharing quickly here. Oh wait, I'm gonna actually go through I'll show the video in a little bit, and you guys can give updates on each bird here. You guys can tag team and figure it out.
Yeah, 11:23 has been one of our special cases as far as our release birds go, and that pretty shortly after their release, within a couple days, they kind of flew out southwest towards the direction of San Simeon, and we haven't had visuals on them in a while, although we've been able to track them with the GPS and VHF devices that are on them. We've been picking up their signal coming pretty reliably throughout the week, a couple weeks that we've been tracking them, and we've been able to monitor them with the GPS that gives us blips on a daily basis. So we know that they're kind of close by, and from the wild birds that we've been seeing showing up on the slope, we also know that there is food around somewhere, probably down by the coast, that she has probably been feeding on, but we're looking forward to her triumphant return and are leaving out a lot of yummy snacks on the slope in the hopes that we can lure her and some other birds that we're looking for back to the slope so we can get some eyes on them. But as far as we know, she's doing great, and she is very much enjoying her newfound freedom. So
yeah, we usually have at least one bird do this every release. They take a little longer to get back. It sounds like all the others, though, the other 5 made it back, have made it back and fed.
Yeah,
Their initial flights.
Gone too far, but they've all been exploring the area pretty often. So it's been fun following them around and tracking them.
Yeah, have you been? Yeah, you guys have probably been watching the learning curve, right, with flying and all that good stuff.
Very much so, yeah. But as you can see in this picture here, they're getting the hang of making their way into the perches. So we're not too worried. That's not to say there haven't been, there's been no shortage of crash landings or missing of the perches, which as guilty as it makes me feel is very fun to watch. So I can't really deny that. But the main thing we're looking for with any of these releases is that at the night, when it comes time for dark, that they're making their way up into perches, away from areas where they might be susceptible to predation by land predators. And pretty much everybody has been able to do that successfully, to varying degrees, of course. It's taken some birds a little bit longer to kind of get the hang of things. Specifically, as far as the 30 series birds, right here we have 1137 and 1139. You can see that they're very fond of these spots on the ground. I don't know what about it is, if it's the field of vision that they get from this area on the slope, or if they just like to sun themselves. But at the beginning, they had no problem sitting on logs or directly on the ground in areas where they were maybe a bit more exposed. And now they're much more taking to perches, even if they're not selecting maybe what we'd think are the best perches. 1139 has gotten into the habit of at least perching off of the ground, but now is perching on branches that are a little bit too skinny for them. So when strong breezes come through, the branches start to wobble, and you can see 39 kind of tucking into themselves, bracing and wobbling up and down. And we're just wondering, there's a thick branch like not too far up above you. You could just go to that, but they I guess I don't know what's going on in their heads.
Yeah, 1144 is just turning to this screen has been a fun one to watch as well. He is a big tough guy as far as the releases are concerned. Like we still see him strutting around this slope with some confidence when he's only around other rookies. He gets kind of first pick of the carcass. But he's been humbled a couple of times by adult birds that come in, like our regular 758 Thunder Chief comes in and shows him who's boss a little bit. But yeah, it's fun to see all of their individual sort of personalities seem to come out when they're all hanging out on the slope here.
Yeah, a lot of them have been visible on the slope this morning. It's definitely pretty active out there. I believe,
they've been
I think
drawn.
44 was throwing his weight around.
It's probably, at least today, the food that's drawing them there. But I think there might be just an urge to interact with some of the adult birds that's kept them around. It's also, of course, the knowledge that they can get reliable food and water here for sure, but it makes tracking them a lot easier when we know that they'll reliably show up in this area where we can, observe them directly. Every morning when we start any tracking effort, our first step is to go into our overlook and look at the slope and see who's on there. And especially recently, we've had plenty of opportunities to see them sitting directly outside the release pen, kind of staring through the bars at their brothers and sisters on the other side. Each of them seems to be wondering why they're separated. So I'm hoping that their urge to reunite will maybe push some of our new batch of rookies out today.
That's great, man. Let's get into the crew going out today. We got 4 birds. We got a couple that will be managed by Pinnacles and a couple by BWS, but all females. It's the all female cohort this week. Here we go. These are all, and again, these photos are all from Isaiah and Maeve. So guys jump in.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, like all of our birds here have been, maybe enjoying a little bit extra space in the pen, just the 4 of them. But yeah, it's been kind of fun to watch how interactions have changed now that some of those maybe more dominant birds are out. See what kind of new behaviors are emerging. 1127's been sort of walking around looking on the outside like all morning this morning. So well, right now she's in the main pen hunkered down, but of course as soon as I say that. But yeah, it's just been a real treat to see how their behaviors have changed a little bit over the last week or so.
So the presence of some of the more dominant birds in here, they've been able to feed and socialize maybe with a little bit more ease than they're used to, which is, like Isaiah was saying, a pretty marked change in their behavior. But yeah, we still have, I don't know, a lot of them have still become quite attached to the DDT. Our last remaining LA bird, 1170, is quite fond of her perch and her now exclusive access to it since the other rookies have been released. But these birds seem to at least get along rather peacefully, that they're able to coexist with a little bit more or a little bit less violence towards one another. Although without some of the bigger birds like 1130, 1139 and 1144, 1170, I've noticed has become probably one of the more dominant ones in this batch. Has become the most, the first to feed, the first to shove somebody else away. And even now, as she's waiting to get out the door, she has been shouldering other birds aside to be first one out the gate. But that's not to say that the other birds haven't been displaying the same level of eagerness. They're all throughout the morning have gone between various stages of pacing around and fluttering between the perches.
70's not looking super dominant in this photo.
I was about to say,
Looking
don't
like a chicken.
She's a sneaky one. No, even the most vicious of birds needs a pancake every now and then.
Yeah, I was like, man, are you sure she's kind of mellow?
No, she is. But yeah, 1141 out of any of them has probably been the most aloof. They have this perch in the main arena that they are quite attached to and are sitting on even now as I am talking to you. But even they have been given to, running around on the ground, especially in the double door trap. So yeah, but they've been out of any of the remaining four, been keeping to themselves the most. It'll be interesting to see post the release how their behavior might change, if at all, or if they're going to retain any of the dominance that they've previously displayed during observation. Although they're far from being one of our more aggressive birds in this cohort. But yeah, it's another promising batch of youngsters, and we're very excited to see them fly free today. See how they adjust to being wild birds.
Yeah. Exciting. Yeah, if they only knew what was about to happen, this door's about to fly open, and yeah, it'd be cool to have them out there interacting with reunited with their buddies.
Yeah.
I definitely think they know something's up because we didn't put a carcass in the pen last night. They see all that food out there on the slope and they're
ready for breakfast.
They're a little confused. They're like, this is different than normal. I don't know. So we'll see.
I feel like they're missing out.
Yes, yeah, they're very eager to get out there, I think.
So I have a couple videos I want to show. There's the one real quick, and you guys can talk through it. It's a video of that it's a kind of a highlight. There's no music or anything to it. Meredith threw this together, but it's some really cool clips from the last release from the and you guys can explain it, but we put two trail cameras, these high definition trail cameras, on a tree right outside the release pen. And it's basically on the same tree that the live cam is mounted to. One is pointed at the upper release door, one's at the lower release door. And so they just capture different clips, not necessarily like of the release day, but other funny clips.
I think that's 1139 taking the first leaf out of the pen. Again, how we touched on earlier, being the first and the last to be released in our last set of releases.
This is funny. This is when they were banging in the wall. You're like, the door is just right there.
It's like, but I can see it.
Oh God, yeah, we were in here biting our nails pretty much. We were so close. We just went a little to the left, just a skosh.
There oh, so this is, I think this is 1139 going back in after being released.
Yeah, just walking.
Join. This is when you joined 1128.
Had a long day, long eventful day. Ready for bed.
It's like, I don't know if I like it out there.
That was fun.
Oh, that's cute. Cozy.
But yeah, we opted to open the upper door first in the last batch because, especially among the last half of that this current cohort, they've been
What's going on right here?
I wish I could tell you. I wish I could. But yeah, they've been very fond of those perches up there, and it hasn't been nearly as popular since they left. But
There was 11:39. That was cool.
Making sure they don't come back in this time.
Yeah. Nice. Quick action.
So he was the first and the last bird out.
Yep.
How does that work? But I love that just go down and start feeding together. I mean, that's pretty perfect. But yeah, we always say that, what to expect on release day. And this was a classic example. None of us predicted this, that he would go back in, he would get released, go back in, spend the night with her, and then they would both go out and get released on the 29th, So yeah, and that's the whole part. I mean, we like that they take their time and we don't rush it, let them go out on their own accord. That's the whole soft release approach, it just really works well. Oh, I actually have another video too. Before we go to, we have about 10 minutes before we go to Patty's classroom. So let me, this is a video that Kelly put together and it's really good. It's a history of the, basically of our release program back to the bald eagles and the condors. So Kelly does a really good recap here and I'm going to play that.
At Ventana Wildlife Society, we restore endangered animals back to nature and educate people about their perils and what can be done to solve ecosystem challenges. We do this in two important ways, through reintroduction and education. From 1986 through 2000, Ventana Wildlife Society reintroduced a total of 70 bald eagles to the wild, restoring a growing population in Central California. Having successfully restored the bald eagle regionally, we aimed for a future where California condors are self-sustaining as well. What we learned is California condors are very different than bald eagles, and we had to adapt. As part of our California Condor Recovery Program, we release captive-raised condors to the wild annually and provide care and support for the flock. At the end of the day, we learned that condors are very social animals, and incorporating that knowledge into how we care for them was important. Our first release of condors in 1997 to the wild ended with all 4 released having to be returned to captivity. But working closely with our zoo partners and changing our tactics in the field, we've come a long way. Condor releases today are often 100% successful in that all releasees are able to establish themselves in the wild initially. The key to success includes having condors raised in captivity either by their parents or mentor, released at least 18 months of age, and having a way to later recapture the birds using their own social tendencies to aid in their trapping. Of course, we know that long-term threats like lead poisoning from spent ammunition still looms. And now highly pathogenic avian influenza threatens the flock as well. We must redouble our efforts. I want to thank everyone who is helping us restore the California condor back to nature and educating people along the way. Because the condor population reached such a low number in just 22 birds, it will likely take a few more decades to fully succeed. But with your help, I know we will see an entirely self-sufficient population of condors in the wild again. Thank you to our partners in condor recovery, especially the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the many private donors that make our work possible.
It was put together by Meredith Evans. Big shout out to Meredith. Yeah, I guess that really captures it, and Kelly kind of hit on, without our partners, we really can't do a lot of this work. And on that same token, like what's been happening up north in Northern California with, and we have Chris here today. We're excited to hear what's been happening up there. And I think that was probably, that was one of the newer release. That was the newest release site added to the program, and it was long coming. And yeah, we did all we could to help grease the wheels and get that release site going with you guys. And yeah, we're just really happy to hear everything happening. But yeah, we had a lot of questions, Chris, last Condor chat at our last release about how things are going up there. And so to put you on the spot a little bit here, maybe you can give us a kind of intro and a little recap of what's been happening. And yeah, I'm excited to hear as well.
Yeah, huge shout out to Ventana. They've been really partnering with us super strongly all the way through. And then our primary partner up at our site, Redwood National and State Parks, who of course have been dovetailing a lot of work with Pinnacles National Park. So really this, you know, it's kind of how the Condor program goes overall. There's just so many disparate partners and everyone works so well together. And so, you know, I've been leaning pretty heavily on both Alacia and Joe all the way through our process and getting our site up and running. Joe came up, as he mentioned early on, just to help kind of look at some of the field sites that we were considering in our process. And then of course, Joe and I have been batting around designs for new field pens, well, forever, because we're nerds and we're really into that kind of stuff. So as soon as Joe and I get a field pen built, we're thinking about the design that we could do for the next one. So you know, that's been a really rewarding process. And you know, working with, you know, I got my start actually back in 1999 working under Joe and Kelly and Ventana. So that was my introduction to condors. So yeah, really fantastic to have such amazing support from all the people in the program. So we've been doing really well. There's a lot to talk about, and I don't want to take up too much time, but we now have only 11 birds out. So Joe's talking about, you know, doing a release of the number of birds they're doing this season, and we only have 11 total. So we started out with 4, our A0 through A3 cohort, A0, A1, A2, A3. And those birds are super solid now. A1 is pretty dominant. He almost is in full adult coloration. A couple of those birds, A0 and A1, were actually held from the previous year. So they were supposed to go out in 2001, actually 2002. And then the regulatory process wasn't finished. It still wasn't finished. Wait a minute, I'm getting my years mixed up. 2020.
There you go. Yeah,
The regulatory process still wasn't done. 2021 rolled around and we still didn't have our final approvals. And so when we finally got building, there was no way we could even release by 2021. So Ventana very graciously accepted those birds early for us so that it wouldn't disrupt breeding at the zoos. And they held them for 6 months at the San Simeon field site and then drove them up to us in 2022. So we released those first 4. They're super solid at this point in time. Then on the regular timing that fall, we got our next cohort of 4 birds and they went out and they're doing really well. One of those birds had a little bit of an issue, had a mass in her jaw, went down to the Oakland Zoo. The amazing veterinarians there did a lot of work with her, took her in for a CAT scan, did surgery, and she is now out with the rest of the birds, holding her own. She's a very strong female out of that second cohort. And our most recent cohort, we were supposed to get 5 birds. And a lot of you know that there's, you know, there's all the stuff going on with the avian influenza and the HPAI vaccination program. So we got 3 birds from Los Angeles Zoo who had been through the trial. And then we had 2 birds remaining that were being held at Oregon Zoo, and they were trying to get the vaccination going on up there. And it got to a point where our weather's a little bit harsher than Big Sur. And so we made the call that it wasn't going to be that they would get through their second vaccination and be ready to come to our pen and then be ready for release until Thanksgiving week. And we were already getting hammered by heavy rainstorms by then. And so I made the call to just hold those birds in Oregon until next year. So they'll be added on to our next cohort. So we just had a small cohort of 3 birds and they're doing very well. One of them is, we call him our special bird, and he's very challenged. And I think, and I'm not sure, he actually had an injury in when he was still in the nest box in captive rearing, and had a tendon in his wing severed. So his lead wing, or his leading tendon in his right wing, is totally severed, which my understanding is it just creates kind of a better airfoil shape for specific airfoil shape when they're doing specific flight types, gliding flights, but it doesn't prevent them from being able to fly. So he is actually flying, and sorry, someone's calling me repeatedly. I think there's a dead elk they're trying to get us to go and pick up for the
Hey,
bird.
that's a good thing.
I don't have enough staff to deal with it today. So anyway,
Cheers.
so that with that injury to the wing, we decided not to tag that wing. So he's our only bird without a tag on the wing. And he's been very tentative in flight. At first, he wasn't even lifting that wing to sun it. So it seemed like there was a lot of weakness there and he had been favoring it a lot. But with the activity just around the immediate release site, he's gaining strength pretty quickly. He's now sunning it regularly. Initially, he wasn't initiating turns with that wing, so he wasn't turning to the right, which is a big concern. As he's been getting stronger, we've been noticing he's now circling both to the right and to the left. He's still his focused skills, as one of your technicians was talking about, when he's choosing branches, and he's choosing really small branches, and his aim's not really good, but he's getting there. But just last night, he tried to land on a very small dead branch in a roost tree that the other birds were using, and it just broke out from under him and he fell out of the tree. And it was right at dark, and the technicians couldn't see where he went. And so we were out last night until 10 o'clock in the woods tracking him. And basically we never got eyes on him, but we got to the point with the radio telemetry that we knew that we were within about 60 feet of him, and he wasn't on the ground where we were. So he had to be somewhere up in the trees above us. So we crossed our fingers, and he was the first one down to the carcasses this morning. So
yeah, that's awesome.
so it's still a little bit of that roller coaster, when the birds are first out and you're like, okay, are they on the ground? Are they up in a tree? Are they in a safe spot? And we have such dense forests that when a bird disappears, until you get out there in the woods and get eyes on it, or get close enough that you're very close by the radio telemetry, and the bird's not on the ground with you, it's got to be up above you, and then you have to assume we've got a good roost. So
Hey, and
that's been a lot of our work over.
Right?
Sorry?
You're gonna be sticking around, right?
I will be, yeah. If you want to switch over to the classroom right now, I think you're on your time for that.
Yeah, because we're going to definitely, after we release the birds and we're waiting to see what happens, folks are going to have definitely a lot of questions for you. But thanks for all that update. That's awesome to hear. And yeah, it looks like Patty's getting geared up here. This is pretty cool. Let me unspot you, but thanks for the update, Chris. Let's go to see if Patty is ready to go. Hey, Patty.
Hi.
Oh, good. You're off mute.
Oh, here we go. Can you hear us?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, hello. So we're here today with Mr. Smallwood's second grade class. And then there's more students over there. You can't really see them.
What's up, guys?
And they're all really excited to talk to you guys.
Awesome.
All right.
They
So
are excited.
all right, so my name is Patty. I have been working with Ventana for a little over a year now. I am part of their education department, and what we've been doing is partnering with local communities to bring free programs to families and students to make them more aware of nature and their surroundings, to inform them better on how they can preserve nature and what they can do to help nature and wildlife. We also inform them on the great work that the biologists and Ventana as a whole do to help the condors. A few weeks ago, we came to Los Padres Elementary School in Salinas to do a few condor presentations to the second graders here. And yesterday, we came again to work with Mr. Smallwood's class to create some condor drawings that the students are really excited to share with you guys today. So we'll have a few students come up and talk to you guys about their drawings and why they chose to draw this.
Very cool. Patty, And Patty, I put a lot of those in the presentation. If you want me to do it that way, or we can do maybe the students first and then maybe at the end I can go through all the pictures.
Yeah, you can, if you'd like, you can start going through the pictures and then we'll just have the few students who want to come up and talk about their pictures come up anyways. So
Okay.
it's fine if it shows twice
There
on
we
the.
go. We got one ready to go.
Yeah, we have one.
Right here. Go over. You have your picture?
No.
Oh.
So one at a time.
Go sit down.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Look at this one.
And I'll have you.
And what did you draw?
I draw the bird and then it's like and these like this is like the baby and this is like another baby bird.
Wow. So it's condors and baby birds in the tree.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank
And then
you.
you come up.
And then you could say your name. What's your name?
Adrian,
His name is Adrian. And Adrian, what did you draw?
I drew a rainbow.
Rainbow and a rainbow condor up in the clouds.
I love
That's
it.
so cool.
Great job. That is incredible. Yeah, jump in, San Simeon crew. They need your scientific feedback.
These are awesome. We're
Wow,
loving
look at
it.
this one. He got the
This
coloration
is
right and everything.
Kenya. And
Beautiful.
Kenya, what did you draw?
The bird is on the grass.
Oh, he's on the grass with a bunch of hearts. I love it.
I love the white patches under the wings. You can see those really clear.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Kenya.
Good
Thank
job,
you.
Kenya.
And I think, oh.
This way, over here.
Right where Patty is. I know. There we go. And this is Hennessy. What did you draw?
I draw.
Oh, there we go.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That condor is bigger than you are.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's accurate.
Thank you. Hennessy. You did a good job.
Hello.
You got the colors right too, the white and the
I
black.
made
Pretty
it
cool.
the eye animated.
So cool.
Great job.
Thank you, Hennessy. Okay. And then next we have, what's your name, buddy?
Leo.
Leo. This is Leo.
Whoa. Oh, you even got the radio, the tags on there.
And the red chest and everything.
What color are the tags? Are those yellow?
Yes, I think so. I think it's number 4 he put. Very cool, Leo.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Awesome. You got Amigo on there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, what do you think, crew? I think that's pretty darn accurate. Oh my
That's,
God.
yeah, that's very accurate.
And
too.
then here we have Benjamin with another colorful condor.
Oh, the rainbow condor.
Is he doing something or?
He's
Maybe.
fine.
Oh, he's just flying. Oh, I love it.
I love it.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Benjamin. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for coming up, guys. So brave.
And then I think we have 2 or 3 questions from the students. So the first question is from Olivia. Say your name.
My name is Elena Garcia and condors look like turkeys, but they don't look like turkeys because they look similar like turkeys, like they only have like black in the back, but they're actually not turkeys, they're condors.
And then did you have a question, Olivia?
Yeah.
What was your question?
Why do condors look like turkeys?
That's a great question. Thank you, Olivia. Hold on.
All right, who wants to tackle that
No,
one?
guys, they're gonna answer right now.
That one. There's a lot of other types of vultures on the slope that are called turkey vultures, specifically because they look really much like turkeys. And the trait that they share with condors is that they have really bald heads that kind of make them look that way. the reason that they have their heads bald is because the food they eat is very messy and contains a lot of bacteria and other germs that can be harmful for them if it were to get stuck in feathers that were on their head. So their heads are nice and bald so that they're able to clean that stuff off and stay healthy even while they're eating and after they're eating. But yeah, it does make them look a lot like turkeys, you're right.
Awesome. So we have another question. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Xavier. So I have a question. How do they take care of condors?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah, there's a good one. How do we take care of condors?
You
gotta
two
describe what you do.
Yeah, the ones that we have in here, we give them food and fresh water once a week, and we watch them a lot. We spend a lot of time in this building that we're in that has a window out to look at them, and we watch them, make sure they're doing normal condor things and eating lots of food and staying healthy. And then once they're outside the pen, we have a big bath for them to drink out of and bathe themselves in, and give them food once a week as well out there. So yeah, I like to think we take pretty good care of them up here.
Awesome.
Okay, and then we have another question.
What do condors eat?
That's a really good question. Condors are what we call scavengers, which means that they don't catch live prey. So they're not like a hawk or an eagle that has to catch its food in order to eat. Condors eat things that have already died. So they're kind of like nature's cleanup crew. They're kind of like the trash collectors of the bird world, where they go around and they clean up everything that has died and they make a meal out of it. So while it might not sound too yummy to us, it sounds pretty good to them, as these birds in the pen would probably tell you if they could. They're looking pretty hungry over there. But yeah, so they eat a number of things out here in Big Sur. They eat a lot of like sea lions or things, marine life that washes up on shore. And then they also eat farther inland. They're eating deer or elk or even cattle that have died. So yeah, they eat a wide variety of things. But yeah.
Great question.
Good question. Yeah, thank you guys.
And then we have one last question. Go ahead.
How do you keep them cool?
How do we keep them cool?
Or how do condors keep cool? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a cool process. Who wants to tackle that one?
Yeah.
I hope somebody will catch me if I'm missing any here, but at least at this time of year, it's not too much of a concern, considering it's the winter time and it's very chilly up here on the mountain where we are, which is a big jump from how it is down closer to the ocean. It's a lot more warm, but up here it can be windy and foggy and rainy. So more often than not, right now the birds are trying to keep themselves warm, but in times where it is warmer and when they inevitably, or when they eventually make it to areas that are hot, condors will drink from the pools of water that we leave out, and are also in the habit of bathing themselves regularly, both as a way to keep clean, but also as a way to keep themselves nice and cool, nice and wet. I think, isn't there, no, I don't want to say that without knowing it for sure.
They pee on their legs.
Yeah, they pee on their legs. Okay,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure before I threw that one out there. It's a thermoregulatory strategy. It's a way that they use to keep themselves cool. Because birds are not mammals like we are, they don't sweat, which is how our bodies, one of the ways that they keep our bodies cool is when we sweat, the moisture on our skin will heat up and evaporate. And since birds can't do that, the closest things that our condors are able to do is when they go to the bathroom on their legs, it has an almost similar cooling effect, since the scales and skin that are on their legs are just about some of the only exposed skin that the birds have, and so when they evacuate onto those parts of their bodies and it cools off, it warms up, it can extract some of the warmth from their body before it falls off. So yeah.
Good question. That was a great question. Hey, Patty, how are you guys doing on timing over there? Hope you're on mute.
We're doing pretty good. We just have one final question here. I can turn it over. Okay, go ahead.
How do you guys take care of the babies?
How do we take care of the babies?
That's a good question. So we actually don't do a lot to take care of the babies because condor parents are really, really good parents. So when we have nests in the wild, we let the parents raise the chicks all by themselves, and they do an awesome job. Both the mom and the dad do the same amount of work. So they both help take care of the chick. They both sit on the egg while it's still an egg. And then when the egg hatches, they're both bringing back food to the little chick. And they're both looking out for predators and making sure that no other condors or other predators get too close to their nest. So the condors do a really good job of taking care of their own chicks here in the wild in Big Sur. So we don't do too much. We watch them, we keep an eye on them, and we make sure everything's going okay. But that's pretty much all we do. We don't interfere too much. We let mom and dad raise them, just like all of us have parents that raised us too. So it's awesome when condors can raise other condors.
Great question.
So that's all the questions that we have, and we're ready for the release whenever you are.
Awesome. All right. Well, here we go, folks. Let's
Let me just get the kids together because they did want to do the countdown.
yeah, and I'll give you the cue for that. I gotta get some stuff lined up here real quick. Let me spotlight my screen. And so what you want to watch is the screen to my wherever my thumb is pointing, the screen up to the side of me here. And I'm going to get the camera up on the release door. Oh, there's somebody down there. It looks like they definitely got a little welcoming committee today. And so, Janae, Isaiah, and Maeve, are you guys going to open the upper door first?
Yes, we're going to open the upper door first, although the two birds that are in there are on the ground. I don't know if you can see them. I turned our inside cam on.
So should we stick with the upper door, you think?
I think we'll still stick with it, just because the birds seem pretty excited. So we'll probably open that one first. We'll wait a few minutes and see what happens, and then we'll open the lower door if it seems like.
Okay, so the class is going to do a countdown, or let me know when you guys are ready for the countdown.
Okay, give us just a minute. All right, we're ready.
I'm gonna need room.
Kids ready?
Okay, class, they're ready for you. So let's do the countdown. You guys start it.
Go.
5, 4,
3. Oh, it went mute. There you go. Wait, what? There it goes.
All right, doors are open. Our upper door is open.
Okay, that door just slid open. So did you notice if they noticed or not, Danae?
They definitely noticed. They're curious. They're checking things out. 1137 is right outside the pen. He also saw the door open and is coming over to investigate.
Uh-oh. Does that mean he's going back in?
No, I don't think so. He's just looking at it suspiciously right now. But yes, both 1136 and 1170 are in the DDT right now on the ground. And they're definitely checking it out. They're thinking about it. They're looking up at that perch above their heads. So we'll give them a few minutes and see what they want to do. And then if they stay on the ground, we'll open that lower door.
Yeah, and I'm going to spotlight you guys real quick to show you guys just flipped your camera around, right?
Yeah, would you rather, I can change it back.
Oh no, this was I was just wanting you to explain what they're looking at.
Yes, so We're setting up this video from inside our blind, so the birds can't see us. We have one-way glass here, but we can see the birds. So those two birds on the ground there, I know it's a little bit dark, but those two birds on the ground are 1136 and 1170. And then 1141 and 1127 are both still here in the main pen. You just saw one bird hop over. So 1127 is checking out that door from the inside of the pen. And yeah, we're watching. Ooh, 1170 looks like she might make some moves. Here she goes. Right up to the door.
Uh-oh, here we go. So this is when we anxiously await. Sometimes they'll go right out and we joke about it, but sometimes they put you on condor time and they might stare at the door for 10 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see her on the video, but her head is just moving every which way. She's totally checking out every angle of her surroundings.
Not quite sure what to make of this.
Yeah, which is good. We want her to be a little bit cautious. She's definitely checking things out. She's not bolting right out the door. So that's exactly what we want to see.
And Mike, is my window, the main window, showing right now?
Yeah, I see you and the pen beside you, but I understand that some of the viewers in the chat are having difficulty seeing. They're asking to expand the screen. I don't know if they're just seeing the panelists. Yeah, they see me, Alacia, and Chris, and you know, we're glad to be seen, but we'd rather see the birds at this point. If there's a way we can figure out how to just see the pen view.
I think that's each individual person has to change their view within Zoom,
Yeah,
so that
the
you're
view.
looking at the speaker view instead of gallery view.
Thank you, Alacia. Yeah, a lot of it's how you manipulate it on your end.
Okay, so so maybe a quick fix, if you can see the view tab on your upper right hand side of your screen and click on that and toggle between speaker and gallery, see if that oh, okay.
Looks like
I
folks are
understand
saying
the
they don't
viewer
have that.
does not have that option, so
Right.
Yeah, let's see if we can.
Yes.
1170 just hopped out.
Did I hear what the first bird just jumped out?
Yeah,
Yep, 1170 just jumped out of the window.
and she has already made her way to the carcass.
Yep, she's feeding right now. In about 5 seconds, she made it out and started feeding.
Awesome. Anybody else? What are the status of the other three?
1136 is still on the ground inside the DDT, now looking very enviously at 1170 eating. And then the other two are still in the main pen. They moved closer to the DDT, so they're on the perch closest to that double door trap, but they are still checking it out. They don't look quite ready to run down there yet, but they're very curious. .1170 just climbed on top of the carcass that she's eating. So she is, I think, asserting her dominance a little bit there.
Yeah, there was a lot of activity on the slope up until a few moments ago. So I think she's seizing the opportunity to get in some feeding before anyone else shows up to shove her off. While she was in captivity, a lot of the bigger birds would shove her off all the time during feeding. So I think she's appreciating the opportunity to feed unimpeded here. It's this one.
Hey, Mike, are you seeing just my view right now?
Yes, I see your view in the screen. That some viewers are still seeing just the panelists, though. So the viewers are not seeing the change on their end. Sorry about that. I think we're trying to figure out what happened and how to get that control of the view where we want it. But so far, the panelists are getting a great show, and the viewers, unfortunately, are not. And we apologize for that.
So 904 just
Hey,
showed
does-
up.
Oh, really? Hey, does this do the same thing? Am I spotlighted like before?
I see the 6 panelists.
Oh, okay, got it.
And one of the adult birds, for those of you who can't see, has just shown up on the slope and looked about ready to push off 1170, but it looks like for the moment they're feeding together. Oh, may have spoken too soon. It's 904 is here and is starting to maybe scare off 1170, but she is not to be deterred. She keeps coming back, keep trying to get in a few pecks while 904 starts to gorge.
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed with 1170 so far. She's been very tenacious for a
She's not to be deterred.
young bird, yes.
So some of the viewers are able to get a better view by looking on explore.org. I guess there's a little bit of a delay. We're sorry that we're not getting the best view for you at the moment. I think we're working on that, and didn't have this difficulty last time, but we encounter new things every time we try to bring this together, and sometimes it's not as smooth as the NFL Today show going out to all these different locations, but we'll try to get you a better view of the pen here coming up.
How's that look?
Well, that looks much better. Let's see how the viewers respond. I'm seeing some indications of success in the chat. So we are having a better view now. The panelists are apparently thumbnails now, which is where we need to be. So I think we're on the right track there, Joe. So at this point, we have one bird out. Is that correct, crew?
Yeah, that's correct. The other birds that are still in here have taken to the perches and are just sitting for the moment. 11 set 36, it seems, has been the one who's been moving around the most, but is kind of coming to sit up near her other friends on the perches. So the release this time is a little bit different than the last in that we weren't able to isolate anybody in that double door trap ahead of time. So they have the full run of the pen, which they are currently using to relax on their favorite perches. But
Yeah, so
Yeah.
if there's one point you guys want to open that lower door, just let me know so I can get the camera moved.
yes,
Okay, yeah, I think we could open it anytime. Not sensing a whole lot of urgency from the birds still in the pen, so I think if we want to go ahead and open it up and give them another reason to go out, I say we can.
yeah, the hope is always as other birds start to show up on the slope, that the urge to feed becomes stronger for those of the birds that are in here who haven't fed in a bit. We're hoping that it triggers some kind of feeding frenzy, and that seeing carcass being eaten by other birds will kind of push them to get it while it's hot, while there's still some meat left on it for them.
Yeah, and Maeve, there is some interest on what that feeding regime is, and so I don't want to talk over a bird leaving, but feel free at any point to sort of walk us through how you prepare the release in terms of feeding. And I guess these are hungry birds. Do you withhold feeding for a period of time, and what is the strategy involved with the food coordinated with this release?
Yeah, at the moment, we are definitely not at risk of talking over a bird release. But yeah, typically we feed on a pretty consistent schedule to the rookies in the pen. We supply them with at least one carcass, one stillborn calf carcass every week. Otherwise, sometimes we've been feeding them multiple goats at a time, usually 4 or 5, and sometimes we would do both when we had all 10 rookies in the pen. And so as of now, the last time that these birds were fed were actually last Monday. We came out onto the slope last night to give everybody their food, but this time we only left food on the outside of the pen rather than putting anything on the inside. Which is, as you could probably guess, and as we've probably mentioned, is done in the hopes that the birds inside who haven't had anything to eat for a week will want to go out and actually get some grub for themselves. So we want to avoid feeding them anything on the night before release, so that come now they are a little bit hungrier, a little bit more enticed by what's going on outside.
Yeah, so right now.
Okay, so we are gonna say goodbye from Mr. Smallwood's class. They do have some other things that they need to get doing. But we wanted to thank you guys for giving us the opportunity to join you on the release today. And the class wanted to say goodbye.
Can I show?
All right, you guys ready?
Say bye.
So thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Super
Thank
awesome.
you.
Thank you, Patty. Thank you, students.
Thank you, Los Padres. Thank you, Patty. Patty Castellanos is one of our 5 education coordinators. I think I heard CC in there as well, and we're really proud of being able to join these classrooms. And really, our niche is taking kids out to nature. So we also have vans where we transport kids to various beautiful spots in Central California. And we're proud to serve over 1,000 youth annually as part of our education program.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you again, Los Padres Elementary School. Hey, so Danae, I got the camera adjusted. There's a little bit of a lag from when it's going to catch up to the other stream. But yeah, whenever you guys want to open that lower door, go for it.
All right.
You maybe get your camera lined up too to show that door. Really, you guys have actually a pretty darn good view of it.
Well, we kind of have these posts in the way.
Oh, that's right.
Be able to see it fully, but it will be in the shot.
Who is that out there feeding right now?
So 904 and 1170 have been feeding together on the 2 carcasses there.
And we're back to a Brady Bunch panel view.
Yeah. And again, if I do this, I don't know if it's, maybe the panelists see it, but I'm not sure everyone else sees it.
We can see it on the panelist end. Not that that's much help, but it's coming in clear.
Are you guys the main view on your side?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
If people click the view button in the upper right,
But they don't have it, Chris, on the
oh,
webinar
they
side.
don't. So they can't select speaker off of gallery.
Unfortunately, no. And at the moment, they are still seeing the panelists.
Yeah, they have limited functionality. So yeah, maybe it's something I got to toggle for them. All right. Let me, so the lower door is open.
It's not open yet. We were just standing by in case you wanted to
Oh, this
adjust.
is actually 1170 looks like it's walking up.
Yeah, 1170 is already back to feeding.
Okay, let me get ready here.
I think it's interesting to see that while they weren't one of the more dominant birds in the cohort, that kind of made it so that they had to be a little bit more vicious to try and even get food to begin with. And it seems that that's coming out now as she's trying to get in some scraps of food, even while a much older bird is feeding. This is why she's my favorite. She's a scrappy little condor.
All right, Joe, are you good for us to open the lower door?
Yeah.
All right. Isaiah, go for it. All right, lower door is open. Yeah, it's pretty cool. We've had some wild birds stop by. We had Thunder Chief 758 and Madeline 936 this morning, as well as the Pinnacles bird 1079, who was released from Pinnacles last year. And I believe that's the first time that bird has made it here. I know you, Maeve and Isaiah, have been seeing that bird the past couple days. So pretty cool that a Pinnacles release bird came over to welcome these birds into the wild.
Yeah, that was definitely the first time we've seen her. So.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Any movement by the birds inside?
No, they're looking pretty comfortable. 1136 came back in from the DDT back into the main pen, and that bird is looking curious, looking around, perked up a bit, but has decided that that door opening was a little too unnerving, so they're gonna check it out from afar for a bit. And the other two are still in their same spot. They're looking at the door. Now that the lower door is open, it's kind of directly in their line of sight. So they can see that the lower door is open, but they're so far not making any moves in that direction.
And am I interpreting this correctly when I say that we're looking at the Explorer view and there's a bit of a delay from what Danae is saying to what we're seeing? I'm seeing the door just now opening. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
About a minute.
So if Danae expresses some excitement, we'll just know that we have to wait a couple of minutes to
enjoy it.
We'll know what's coming, I guess.
Or she could wait and not tell us. No, I'm just kidding.
That would be great.
I'll do my best, but it's pretty hard to contain your excitement when a bird goes free.
Are they looking pretty camped out inside the main pen?
Yeah, they're looking pretty cozy. But we'll keep you posted if they start to make any moves.
Hey, Mike, are there any, you see any questions in there for Chris?
Oh, lots of questions for Chris. Are we at the I think some folks want to know, Chris, now you've been to both sites. Your experience with Central California, Northern California,
And Southern.
all over. And so could you tell us a little bit about how your site compares the environment, maybe the habitat, proximity to the ocean? You did allude to it being a harsher environment, but could you expand on that and just sort of tell us what it's like up there for the birds?
Well, I think that, having lived in Big Sur for some time and worked at that site quite a bit, I felt like the area is pretty similar. We have a lot of heavily wooded area. We're actually situated right in some kind of upland coastal prairie habitat. So it's pretty dense forest, a lot of fir and spruce. And then as you move lower down into the valleys and towards the coast, you get a lot more into redwood, similar to Big Sur. So I think the big difference that I didn't notice until I really started working out the seasonal timing is just how early winter hits us and the severity of the storms we get. Storms in Big Sur are pretty severe. I think the temperature drops a little bit more, so we get more snow right in the heart of winter. And then we got a lot of periods of very cold, rainy weather and a lot of sleet. And so it's just a little bit chillier, I think. Last winter was very severe. We had up to 3 feet of snow on the ground at the release site, which was a challenge for the crews. We couldn't get vehicles in, so we had crew hiking in and snowshoeing in, digging up carcasses with shovels so that the birds could actually see where the carcasses were and exposing them for the birds, and doing that at night as necessary, which is, I'm glad I have a rough and tough field crew. Other than that, I think another big difference in our site is the fact that there's so much of the year that isn't very warm. And so a lot of the sites, especially the inland sites and the Southern California sites, have a lot of thermals. So a lot of rising air coming off of ridge tops when the weather is warm. And I think that does occur in the heart of summer for us, but for a lot of the year, it's cold enough that they do what they probably do down, especially in Big Sur a lot of the time, where they use directional wind and they kind of angle into it to get lift. And so they use directional wind and they use wind running along ridges and coming in from the ocean and then deflecting up ridges. They use wind that snakes up river corridors, and they can go out over a river corridor and get into that river of wind and use it to gain altitude and navigate the terrain that way. So, I spent time in Big Sur. I spent a lot of time doing my master's research down at the Southern California release site. And I was so used to watching a lot of that thermaling flight pattern down there that watching how the birds navigate the landscape up here has been really fascinating.
Yeah, great. And I have another question to ask you, but before I do, I want to check in with the crew. And I'm curious, where are the birds in the pen now? In our view, it doesn't look like they're on the ground. Are they up in the perches up near where the upper door would be in our view? What's the situation right now?
So we've touched on it a couple times, but the pen is split into 2 sections, that being the double door trap, which is a smaller isolated section closer to what I think you can see right now on the cam.
Mm-hmm.
And further within, separated by a fenced wall, is I think what we call the arena, right?
Arena,
Yeah.
main pen.
But in the main pen, there is another set of perches towards the center of that room, which they're all currently sitting on, and they're watching what's going on outside, but have not yet really.
Camera. There you go.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I see it now on Danae's thumbnail there.
Yes.
Yeah. So they have to go to that from that main part of the pen into the DDT and then through the lower door. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a across from where you can see on the screen right now on the feed of the Explore Cam, right behind where the outer door is open, there is a door on the inside that is also open that the birds would have to walk through in order to make it into the DDT and then make it out of the release pen.
Yeah, so a very complicated trap design, and that also facilitates trapping the birds when we need to do that. You can get the birds into the DDT, evaluate who you want to capture, and then either close the DDT door behind them and open the inner door and work the doors in such a way to where you can get the bird that you need to get.
Hey, and Mike, I know Alacia's got to cut out here pretty soon, but if there are any Pinnacle specific questions we can address before she heads out, that'd be great.
Well, there was some interest in, as great as this is, watching the birds on camera from the comfort of our homes and offices, are there opportunities for watching condor releases live in the wild? And I was going to throw that to Joe, but also I'm interested in Alacia's take as well, because I think she has had some live viewing opportunities at Pinnacles. I'm sure they're at a distance. I'm sure there's some limitations on how the public could be involved with viewing, but I'd like to get her take on what the possibility is of seeing releases. Is it feasible, or is it better just to plan on seeing birds flying free in the wild?
We have done a few public release events, yeah, where folks can come out and watch it in real time. And it is from a distance. It is 3/4 of a mile away, maybe a mile. And so you're using spotting scopes and binoculars in order to watch. What we have found with those is that it turns out the weather over here just never quite cooperates as much as you want it to. And Pinnacles is a very hot place. And so more often than not, we had challenges with people getting too hot, or the condors decided not to fly that day. And so in general, we feel like it is just better to come to Pinnacles to try to see condors flying once they're already out and about. And doing those kind of live public events are just, they don't work out quite as well as we would like, even though the idea is fantastic.
Yeah, and certainly the condor viewing at Pinnacles is pretty elite in terms
yeah,
of
if you can get up and have a lucky day and hear the wind through their wings as they fly right overhead, there's nothing quite like that.
Yeah, I think there's nothing quite like that hike up to the high peaks and being lucky and encountering a condor perched on one of those rocks, and sometimes you can get some very close views of condors at Pinnacles, and those to me are just so rewarding. The releases are great, but seeing that condor in the wild in a natural place like Pinnacles or the Big Sur Coast is unbeatable.
Absolutely.
And we thank Alacia for joining us, and thanks to Pinnacles National Park in general for the great work that they do and being such a great partner of what we do. And really glad that you could come and join us today.
Yeah, thank you. And I hope the last few get out today and that they cooperate that way, and really appreciate being invited to come on today. So
thanks
good
for
luck.
coming, Alacia.
Thanks. Sorry, I have to leave a little early, but I really appreciate being here for this time. And the classroom was really great. That was a lot of fun.
It was great having you as always, and give everybody a shout over there.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you for your help with the quarantine pens. That was huge.
Yeah.
Thank everybody over there. Yeah, that was a big help. So.
All right. Take care, everybody. Bye.
See ya.
All right. Thank you, Alacia. And if I could throw another question your way, Chris.
I'm going to interrupt just to let you know.
Oh, we got some action.
Yep, we've got some action. We have two birds now in the DDT, 1127 and 1141. They are definitely looking very eager to go out, and they will likely go out the bottom door shortly. So you see them now on, it looks like your feed that is on a slight delay, but they're still doing the same thing. They're just pacing at the bottom. 904 is just chowing down on the carcass outside, and and there goes 1127. Just walked right out the door and immediately started eating.
And I
Yeah,
think
sometimes when they go out, it's not as it's a little anticlimactic, but for us, honestly, that it's not a bad thing. It's as long as they get out there, find the food,
They are
take their sweet time. I'm always happy.
at the moment.
Yeah, 1127 just got a huge piece of food from that carcass, and 758 was not too happy about that, but 1127 looks like they got away with their prize.
Okay, now the other cam is starting to show what just unfolded.
Yep.
It looks like 1141 is very close to figuring out where the door is.
Here they go. Here they go. Yeah, there's 1127. We're seeing it now with 1141.
1141 just left. So now we just have one left in the pen. It's 1136.
And 1136 is looking pretty eager too. Might have a quick 1, 2, 3 of these birds.
We're watching the delay, but it is funny. Like they're right there looking for the door.
Yeah.
Oop, there it is. There goes 1127.
Yep. So keep watching. 1141 will follow pretty shortly.
Yeah, the delay is actually kind of an advantage because a lot of times we don't see it coming.
Mm-hmm.
When there's the battle. Yeah, we just saw, oh my God, 1127 inhaled that piece of meat.
Yep. It was pretty awesome to watch. It wasted
Didn't
no
have,
time.
yeah. 1127 did not have long. She didn't have long before 758 was going to snag that thing.
Exactly, which is really great. Sometimes the young birds get scared and they'll just drop the piece of meat and run away from the older birds. But she was very, very confident she was going to hold on to that piece. So that was awesome.
It is interesting watching 1141 and they're doing the pacing thing and just not figuring out where the door is.
Yep. He will in a second.
There you go, all the way to the end. Yes.
And then
It's like the mouse in the maze. You're like, come on, you can make it. You can figure it out.
1136 is definitely getting pretty riled up in here. Just trying to figure out how those birds are getting out so quick and how he can get to that food, or she.
Is she still up high? We can't see on that angle. She's still sitting up on the high perch.
Yeah, I can push it up to her. But yeah, she's still in the main pen.
Oh, there she. Oh, yeah, she is hopping around. Look at that.
Hopping around. She's walking back and forth. She's super antsy right now, which is good. I think she'll figure it out pretty soon, hopefully. Yeah, 1127 and 1170 are just feeding together on the carcass out there. 758 is standing on the carcass, making sure that they are aware that he's the dominant bird in this situation. But he's being pretty nice with them. He's not harassing him too much.
You can do it.
Yeah, she's thinking about it.
Yeah, there's always that last bird, you know. She just goes down to the ground. You can do it.
Yep.
Oh, there she goes. Oh, oh no. Oh, there it is.
Around. Sorry, our view is a little bit cut off.
Oh yeah, she's kind of closer to the window there. Oh, there she is.
It might be a little.
That's awesome.
But you can see the other birds back there too. It's 758 fighting them off the carcass, but
they're hanging. I like how they're sticking to it though.
Oh yeah, they're being very, very assertive for young birds, which is really good.
Looks like 1137 just went the wrong way.
Yeah. So that's their picked over carcass from last week that she is looking at, like, this one doesn't seem to have a teeth on it.
There you go. Oh no. Stay on the ground.
I'm sorry. I don't want to make anyone dizzy. I know I'm moving it around a lot.
Oh yeah, we're getting the delayed battles. We can see the shadows of battles going on. Yeah, I'm gonna stop share real quick and adjust the, oh, it looks like one of the birds almost decided to go back in. Might
Yeah,
adjust the,
1127 was standing by the door, but they stayed out.
I'm gonna stop share for a second here. And I'll get back to that screen here shortly. Let's go. There we go. I want to zoom in, change the angle on this camera real quick. There we go. Your screen.
Danae, do you know who those birds are in the tree outside of the pen? Or those aren't the birds that were released? Are they other birds from the flock?
There definitely were some birds that were previously released. I know 1137 was here, 1139, 1144 was here. So definitely then, and then I believe 936 is still here.
I believe I'm looking at them up there.
Okay, yeah. We can kind of see, our view is kind of obstructed, but we can see a few birds in the tree. So yeah, we think we're looking at the same birds that you guys are on the live feed.
You can see 39 to the left of the release pen up in a tree still. So everyone's still kind of lingering around somewhat, but as the activity on the slope increases, I think some of them are starting to stay away, especially since a lot of them have already eaten their fill.
Yeah, we're looking at 758 and he has a pretty massive crop. So I think he's eaten about as much as he can eat this morning. He's just kind of,
he can fit in a little more.
Yeah, this is 758 we're talking about.
He's going for the bowl. He's going for the bowling ball crop.
Exactly.
He wants to, he wants to show that thing off.
So you guys will be able to see there's 1170 and 1127 feeding together. They're chowing down on that carcass right outside the pen. I believe 1141 is still on the slope. We've deployed Isaiah out to the field, so he's actually outside the pen on this nice vista point looking back at the slope. So he's gonna keep watch from the birds from there. And 1136 seems to have settled down a little bit. She's preening now and adjusting her feathers and still keeping an eye on those birds outside the pen, but not quite as antsy as she was before. So we might have a little bit of downtime while we wait for her to decide her next move.
Got those first day of school jitters.
Well, if it's too much downtime, there won't be much left of that carcass.
That's right. Yeah, this might be a good time if there's any more questions that we want to answer while we're waiting to see what 1136 does. We can chat a little bit and then we'll just pipe in if there's any movement on the bird's part.
Sure, and I am going to get to my question to Chris, but for the crew, what are your plans for today? You're obviously in the blind there. I guess you're probably hunkered in there for a while to observe things, but how does your role then change from observing in the blind to watching them and monitoring them in the wild over today or the next couple of days. What is your process for monitoring these birds?
Yeah, so pretty shortly after everybody has left the pen, we will go out and start tracking on foot, using our own 2 eyes, but also our telemetry equipment for whenever they fly out of our visual or immediate visual range. And so those transmitters that we equip them with will enable us to track them with our radio telemetry technology. We're observing them mainly just to make sure that they're safe and that they're doing well. While they're on the slope, they're obviously much easier to observe, and we want to make sure everyone's had a chance to eat. But the most important part of the observation for today and probably over the next few days is going to be ensuring that these birds are flying up into perches, making good choices when it comes to selecting perches for the evening, and just generally being aware of their locations before they settle in for the night, so that we know that they're in an area where they're going to be safe and unlikely to be harassed by any wild animals. And we'll be maintaining that effort for the rest of the week and for the coming week as they're starting to get their bearings. But already with the last batch of releases, as they are kind of getting used to how things are going, how they're supposed to be behaving in the wild, we can start to relax as we get further and further from the day of their release, and we become more confident that they have an idea of what they're doing. But just like with the last batch of releases, we're for the first few days, we're definitely going to be keeping a very close eye on them as they're learning the ropes.
Joe, do these cohorts typically spend a lot of time together? Is there any pattern that we can expect for them either staying together, or does one usually break apart from the pack? Is there anything general that you can share in terms of the cohesiveness of this cohort moving forward in their young life in the wild?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, as a release group, they'll probably remain pretty socially, you'll have little social bonds that keep them together. But one thing we've noticed is when you have wild fledged birds out there now that are similar in age, they can sometimes bond up with those birds, or they'll develop a kinship with another wild bird that's maybe 1 or 2 years older. They kind of all they'll go out as a group, I think, initially for that safety. They feel, that extra added security being with their buddies, but they naturally within that first year, they start to find their little cliques of the birds they like to hang out with. And it's usually, of course, they'll all be on the younger side, lower in the hierarchy, but yeah, they're all individuals, and they'll take some of these birds in their release group they'll stick with, and some they'll kind of spread out from and make bonds with new birds out in the wild. So now that we have more birds, a larger flock, up to 100 birds, we see that more often than not, that these birds, once they get out, they kind of they start to break away from their release group core and start to branch out, because there's so many more birds to meet and get to know. And, and they just have a natural affinity to different birds, just like humans. You have an affinity to people you like, and condors are no different.
It's like making friends at a new school, I guess.
Yeah, it's like kindergarten.
Yeah.
Maybe not kindergarten, maybe junior high. I don't know.
Yeah. Cindy asks a question that I think a lot of people secretly want to know. Is there a point in time in the life of a rotting carcass when the birds will just stop feeding on it because it's just too nasty?
Yeah.
My experience, no, but I'll let Joe chime in on that one too.
Yeah, there is no level. If they're hungry, they're hungry. Sometimes they'll skip it if they've got a full crop, but more often than not, it's got to be almost liquefied before they turn their noses up to it. Maybe that was a little too much information, but there are a lot of phases to a carcass. So yeah, there's not too many they turn their noses up to.
Okay, well, I guess they do have a limit somewhere, but they do their job as nature's cleanup crew. One viewer would like Maeve and Isaiah to know how impressed they are with the knowledge they've gained with VWS and how well they articulate their knowledge in the remote backcountry. Pretty amazing. So good work there. We all appreciate that so much.
Hey, Chris, didn't the birds up there recently find an elk? Like, what have the wild feeding's been like up there?
Yeah, we haven't had too many wild feedings yet. We've only really had two. Unfortunately, well, the first one was a solo bird, went up into the Klamath River corridor, and she found two different carcasses.
Wow.
And not sure which one she actually fed on. She did get a full crop, and we spoke to the landowner there, and they had a depredation bear that they had shot, and then their nephew had also shot a deer. So there was remains of a deer carcass and a full bear carcass. The bear, like I said, it was getting into some of their stuff. They're in a very remote area. It was tearing into some of their area right around their house. And it was actually shot with a non-lead copper 44 Magnum round that we had provided through our Hunters as Stewards program up here to that individual.
Sorry, I'm
And
gonna
then-
interrupt. We just had our
Oh.
last bird leave the pen.
All right. We'll stay tuned for it. Good thing we got this thing on delay. See?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was
That was
not-
by design. No.
that was very fast. She was not looking like she was gonna figure it out, and then she just bolted and ran straight through both doors.
Yeah, so it's going to be, wait for it, kind of probably in like a minute on that lower door view, on the main view here. Yeah, but Chris, when we were up there looking, scoping out those release sites, I think one of the cool differences with up there that I saw was the potential for the condors to feed on salmon. Because you guys have much healthier, robust, like the Klamath especially, and it's obviously so important to the tribe, to the Yurok tribe. But I can't wait for that first wild salmon feeding, of a dead salmon along the river. I just can picture it in my mind. That'd be a beautiful sight.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm muted.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, we're super excited about that as well. And, most of even the small streams have some salmon and steelhead populations. I think for the birds are hanging out in the old growth in Redwood Creek quite a bit, which is on Redwood National Park lands, and they're really enjoying those old growth redwoods for roosting. So the problem is nice.
Keep going. Oh, you see the shadow of her head right there. Woohoo, that's all four out. Right on. So now we shut the doors. Now they're not allowed back in.
I was just checking on 1087's GPS, but yeah, we're gonna go ahead and shut the outside doors so that they don't come back in.
Time to be wild birds, even if they want to come back in. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, because we're excited down at San Simeon for the potential. Up in Big Sur, they're most commonly feeding on carcasses of sea lions that wash up. But down at San Simeon, there's that really huge colony of elephant seals. And they haven't really dialed into that yet, but we know it's just a matter of time. And that's what's cool up there. Up north, you guys have the same dynamic with, and I would say your coast is a lot wilder in terms of Big Sur is pretty wild, but the coast up there is pretty rugged. And so if they do start dialing into the coast up there, I think it's just going to be a heyday.
Yeah, we're definitely excited about the marine mammal potential. They really haven't gotten down to the coast. Some of the viewers may not quite understand because they're maybe used to watching your releases where there's these massive flocks of birds that you guys have had out there for so long. And these birds have this kind of knowledge about the landscape and where the resources are. And so these young birds follow them and very quickly leave the release area and have these older birds to rely on. Our birds haven't gone that far. And so they're exploring very slowly. And, right now, I would say our birds probably haven't been further than 10 miles from our release site for the last couple of months. And that's, they have gone over 50 miles, but it's infrequent.
But as you remember, when you worked on the crew in Big Sur, remember they didn't go, that was about their range the first few years of the program.
But it can happen. It can happen so quickly. I remember when I was working with you guys in 2000 or 2001, and we were still kind of getting super excited when the birds went all the way down to the coast. Yeah. And then I think it was just like a year later they made it to the Ventura release site.
Yeah, it was like a light switch. It was like a switch flipped and they figured it out. And that's what careful what you wish for. Because they can go real far up there. Like, I mean, I'm excited if they find, and we've talked about it before, the Lost Coast is just, that whole stretch is just pretty mind blowing,
And just in the last 5 years, there had been elephant seals observed there quite a bit on the Lost Coast. And just in the last 5 years or so, some of the bulls have been actually holding territories, and now there's breeding going on right there. So there's an active elephant seal colony breeding right there on the Lost Coast. So that's going to be super exciting.
That's got to be the northernmost record, right?
I mean, in the past, obviously, 1800s or earlier, they were further north, but this is definitely the furthest. I think it's the only one north of Año Nuevo that's recently been established as they're moving back.
Yeah, we've had a couple birds go really close to Año Nuevo up here or down here. Reconnecting with these feeding patterns is really cool. Like, in 2006, when the Big Sur condors found the first whale, it was the first time that had been observed since Lewis and Clark, were at the mouth of the Columbia River. So that was pretty mind blowing to be in that moment, seeing these birds reconnecting and, feeding on that whale was probably 80 feet long, gray whale, and they fed on that thing for months. And then since then, they see them every few years. We'll have a whale wash up that they can get to, and it's just a bounty of food. And I'll never forget in 2012 when they found a gray whale calf carcass, which sounds small, but it was still a 15-foot carcass with thousands of pounds of meat. And they fed their nestlings that year, and they were the largest. At that time we were still going in the nest, and they were just blowing away the growth curves. We've never seen chicks at a 1 month chick at 8 pounds. We're like, oh my God. So it was awesome to see how those connections benefit the birds. It seems intuitive, but when you actually see it, you're like, oh my God, this is such an important source of food for these guys. And the fact that you guys have the coast and you also have those, I think the salmon resources, I think it's just a matter of time, before they reconnect with all those, and I know talking to some of the Yurok tribe, they're excited because all those other species obviously carry a lot of weight with them. And that's been cool to learn about that aspect of it too. And I think that's one of the really awesome parts about that release site up there, the Redwood National Park, Yurok tribe partnership, and kind of similar to how we're working with Pinnacles. Really awesome, to have the indigenous tribes involved.
And I think that they may actually exploit those salmon before we even know, because there's a lot of small tributaries that we can't get into. It's such a rugged, remote area, and the birds can. So until they start feeding on stuff like right in the Klamath corridor, what's big enough for people to observe, we may not even know all the adventures they get into. But unfortunately, they did find, after those 2 carcasses they found that were shot with non-lead ammunition, which was great. But they did get into the elk that Joe mentioned up in the park in the Bald Hills area. And it was a poached elk, and 5 out of the 8 birds that fed on it got elevated levels of lead, and 1 had to be treated. So again, even up at our new release site, the specter of lead is already rearing its head. Fortunately, we were able to give one round of chelation therapy to that bird, and the lead levels came right down. We x-rayed him and he didn't have any fragments in him, and so he's back out there flying strong. So happy ending to that, but really raises everyone, I think, in this northern region's awareness about this fight that lead we're going to have related to lead, that Ventana's been doing such a great job at kind of pioneering a lot of methods that we're going to be hopefully riding on their coattails on some of that.
Yeah, it takes a village, as we keep saying, and I think we know with the non-lead, we just got to keep pushing forward. And Mike can speak to it, all the connections he's making with the free ammunition program, right, Mike? I mean, God, it's endless. There's more and more folks you're connecting with.
Yes, and we've had some questions about lead, and certainly availability of non-lead ammunition has been inconsistent at best. And so I think that has presented some challenges for local hunters and ranchers in being able to follow the laws that require the use of non-lead ammunition when shooting wildlife. And so that's a challenge that we're working on. We're trying to connect the hunters and the shooters with local stores that have the ammunition in stock and available. But then we also have the issue with poaching, which unfortunately has appeared up north, and it happens here in Central California as well. And so reaching that demographic has been quite the challenge as well. A lot of the viewers are interested in what the menu is out there. We're seeing various carcasses. Joe, can you go through what's on the dinner table here for these condors and where these carcasses came from?
Yeah, so we have our typical menu item is a stillborn calf, and those come from we work closely with some organic dairies up above San Francisco and Petaluma, and they've been really gracious with providing any of their calves that are born, obviously stillborn. And then we periodically go up and pick up loads and bring them down and store them in a walk-in freezer kind of strategically located in Big Sur. And then we provide them out for the birds. But it's just a great, not only a great tool for teaching these young birds how to forage, but also just, as we've been talking about, as we know, a free, non-lead, not free, obviously. No, they are free, I guess, but a non-lead food source for these guys. And again, the idea is that we don't have to do this forever. It's just basically a kind of a near-term management technique that not only helps us, again, with the young birds, providing, a non-lead food source, but it also is an important tool when we need to recapture birds that might be sick, or we need to swap out transmitters. We can use these carcasses to bait birds back in, and it allows us to basically keep these transmitters on so we know where they're going. And if we know where they're going, we can protect those areas and protect them, in case they get into trouble or get into lead poisoning or something like that. So it's just been having these carcasses is really, really important to our work. Probably one of the most important tools we have.
It certainly makes a difference here in the short term. Of course, our goal is a self-sustaining population where we can eventually back off from the management. But the harsh reality is lead poisoning still is a major threat to the sustainability of condor populations. A quick question from Agnes. Is the price for non-lead more expensive? Yes, it is, but I will state that ammunition across the board in the market, whether it's lead or non-lead, is quite inflated, has been since the pandemic. Availability has been difficult for all ammunition, and that has driven the price up. And so hunters are paying that price. if you're looking at it in terms of how much ammunition you might go through in a year, if you're shooting one deer in a season, you may not go through much ammunition. If you're shooting 1,000 rounds at ground squirrels on a ranch, then you're going through a lot and the cost can add up. And so yes, that is a challenge. I find that many of the hunters are willing to pay the extra price for quality ammunition. It's just a matter of the availability being really a limiting factor as we stand right now.
Hey, Danae, do we have any birds that have taken flight yet?
We do. So 1170, as you can see on the live cam there, 1170 and 1127 are still feeding on the slope. And there might be another one farther down the slope that I can't see from here, but Isaiah and Maeve just left to go look for 1141 and 1136. When we closed the doors, that kind of spooked a bunch of birds, including the more dominant birds. And so I think some of the young rookies followed those more dominant birds and took off. I don't think they went too far, but Maeve and Isaiah are out. They're going to get eyes on those two birds, but neither of them look like they went too far from the slope. So they're probably in some trees nearby, but they're going to keep us posted.
Yeah, they get to follow the lead of some really experienced flyers, so it's best you can ask for.
Yeah, there's some good dominant adult birds around that seem to be acting very graciously towards these younger birds and help them out. So hopefully we might see them come back to the slope in a few minutes, but we'll let you guys know. But right now, I think you have a pretty good view on the cam of 1170 there and 1127 chowing down together.
Yeah, so maybe just recap the release day here. We had who went out first, who went out.
Yeah, so 1170 was the first one out almost as soon as we opened those doors at 10:30. She went out at 10:32 according to my watch. So she was very close right there, ready to go. And then the other three kind of hung out in the main pen for a little bit. The next one out was 1127, who walked out at 10:59. And then shortly after that, right on her coattails, was 1141, who also walked out of that lower door at 1100 even. And then 1136 took her time for a while. She didn't seem like she was going to go out. She was checking things out from a distance, but looked pretty cozy in the main pen. And then kind of all of a sudden, it seems like she just decided it was time, and she's bolted straight out both doors and didn't hesitate, and ran right out both those bottom doors. And she went out at 11:15. So pretty good. They all fed for a while. And again, two of the birds have taken off and moved away from the slope, but two are still on the slope. So it sounds like one of them had a little bit of a rough landing in a tree. So those first attempted landings are always a little bit tricky. It sounds like 1136 tried to land in a tree and kind of missed the mark a little bit. So she's doing okay, but she had a little rough landing. And then 1141, I believe, is on the lower slope. So we can't see it, or I can't see him from where I am, and you guys can't see him from your view on the cam, but if he might be on one of those lower carcasses.
Yeah, I'll adjust the cam now, see if I can't spot her.
Okay, yeah, her, yes. But yeah, so far everyone's doing really well. That was a pretty textbook good release in terms of, how calmly they all went out, nice and slow. They all kind of investigated it in their own time and chose their own time to go out. And the really nice thing is I don't have to be here till 5 o'clock at night waiting for the birds to go out because they all went out. So it's very nice from that perspective. But yeah, really cool to just see them immediately go to those carcasses and start feeding. That's exactly what we want them to do. It looks like you might have views of 1141 there.
Yep, 1141 is. Yep, 1141 is on the carcass with a couple turkey vultures.
Awesome. It's the first time they've interacted with wild turkey vultures too. They can interact only so much through the pen. So it's always fun to watch them meet other species in addition to the other condors that are out there.
Mm-hmm. Let's share my screen again. There we go. So that's actually pretty, you nailed it. This is about as good as we could ask for. And the weather cooperated. I know, Chris, for you, that is a major challenge with releases up there, is finding that window Yeah, we probably take it for granted down here, but yeah, your windows are a lot narrower, especially now. I mean, you're coming up, like, you pretty much can't release after Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, we pretty much make the week before Thanksgiving our cutoff. We don't let any birds out after that. So if we can't get them out by then, we don't accept them from the zoos if we're not going to be able to get them early enough to be able to hit that window.
Yeah,
I mean, we've got a great window right now of weather, but it's just so uncertain. The rain could start sometime in November and then not stop until January. So it happens.
it's another whole level up there, but for the birds that are out there, this would be great. They'll have a nice little break to kind of get on the wing and hone down those skills. But you've probably seen it up there. I remember seeing in Big Sur in the winter. I was always wondering how these birds got around, and almost near downpours, we'd see them moving, which was previously undocumented. And we saw it. We're like, yep, they can fly in the rain. They're not really technically not supposed to be able to do that, but we witnessed it many times. And what have you seen up there? Have you seen that kind of same resiliency with the weather?
Oh yeah, it rained all last week and we put out fresh carcasses, and I think we had about 7 birds flew in a downpour, fed during the downpour and then flew off, and it was still raining. So they just it's amazing how they look totally slick on the outside, but when they'll stretch or something and you'll see like a little gap in the feathers and they look totally dry, downy underneath, even though they've been standing in a downpour for 10 hours, 20 hours, whatever. They're amazingly resilient, and their airfoil shape seems to work just fine when that outer coating is totally slick with water.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, because we know historically they were up in all the Northwest and some of these really wet, damp areas. You go further up into like Olympic National Park. We know they were up there on the coast, based on when Lewis and Clark saw them at the mouth of Columbia. That was midwinter and supposedly one of the worst winters on record up there. And they were flourishing on the coast, you know what I mean? So just, yeah, we always knew it. But, I think when the condors had kind of been identified with sunny Southern California, when they were all the last 27 were brought in the late 80s and 87. So I think that was a stigma attached to that. But as we've done, as we've dug deeper into the historic archives and looking at the history of the species and where they historically were, we know they could endure snow, wet, all climes, super hot to super cold. We know they were up in British Columbia. Obviously in some of the more barren areas of Arizona. It's just kind of speaks a lot to this bird, how adaptable they are. Pretty darn tough birds.
Last winter we had there was one day where a carcass got snowed over, and then a crust formed on top, so it was kind of iced over on the snow, and a group of the birds showed up and there was a leg sticking out, and they started hauling on the leg, and they basically peeled the thing out and left a carcass shaped hole in the snow, peeled the thing out, and it was just like a popsicle, and they took it down to skin and bone.
Wow, there you go. Hungry bird is a hungry bird. Yeah, so far has the winter been pretty mild up there, or has it been pretty normal?
It hasn't really gotten too cold yet. We did have a lot of rain in the last couple of weeks, and then about 3 days ago or so it cleared, and we got a little bit of rain last night, but we're supposed to have no precipitation for the next week coming up. So it looks like it's going to be a really good week, which is great, because our birds, the new birds, the new releases are really working on their landings in trees, starting to roost in trees nightly now. Even our slow moving bird B1, I think the last 3 nights he's roosted in trees. So it looks like he's finally made that transition. So that's really good. And
if people want to come up and try to spot condors up north, is Redwood National Park the best place to go?
yeah, they spend a like I said, they like to roost in the old growth trees, and the old growth trees in the Redwood Creek corridor of Redwood National and State
It's
Park,
awesome.
Redwood National Park. Yeah, I mean, when the weather turns bad, they head into those old growth redwoods, and they're probably roosting on sidewalk wide branches, 150 feet up under canopy. So they pretty much are untouchable up there. And so
I bet you they're totally dry in some of those spots.
yeah. So I'm really excited about our new releases being able to get down there. Only one of the birds has exhibited enough flight capability to get down to those trees yet. The other ones hopefully will follow. But if you go and you drive up over Bald Hills Road, which goes on the north ridge overlooking Redwood Creek, there's a lot of hiking trails at Redwood National Park right there. There's a spot, a trail called Dolison Trail. So if your viewers want to write down Dolison Trail, there's a great little parking area, a couple picnic tables. And I have taken bird groups up there and just said, well, we'll look for the birds, but worst comes to worst, we'll sit and have lunch at the picnic tables at Dolison Trailhead. And every group that I've taken there has seen condors. And many of those groups have seen every condor out just from that one spot, just sitting there having sandwiches. So great spot.
You can type it in the chat.
That
And for people that can't make the trip up there, you guys have a couple awesome cams going.
we do, yes.
Yeah, maybe add a link in the chat for your cams. I watch those regularly. They're really crisp, incredible. You guys did a great job on those cams. The clarity is amazing. And I know that was with state parks, right? It helped you guys out on those. And
Yeah.
Yeah, again, you got a lot of partners up there. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, state parks is a really important partner for us as well. We have a lot of nesting in the state parks. And I know the Redwood National Park is right next to Prairie Creek, right? And they're kind of almost shared management. So yeah, really cool. Yeah, beautiful setup up there. I got to get back up there, honestly. Yeah, and I love that Redwood Creek hike. That's pretty beautiful. But yeah, that's great to hear. Yeah, and as you get more and more out there, and again, for folks going up there, make sure the weather's clear, because if it's raining, it's gonna be tough.
And you can do the Tall Trees Grove Trail is a great one.
I think we all hiked that last time we were up there when we dropped the birds off, right? Didn't we?
Yeah, you guys put out a forest fire in there.
That's right. We put out a fire. We saved the forest. Yeah.
So I just put up a link to our live cam. And what was the other thing? So.
Yeah, and those cams are right at your release site, similar to the Big Sur cams we have. Similar setup. You feed them right outside the. You guys place a lot of carcasses right outside the release pen. And yeah. And do you have, I don't know if you heard, but we have a crew of folks that are watching our cams all the time and collecting data on the birds and at explore.org. And it's been really, really helpful to us because obviously we're out in the field a lot away from any kind of technology at most of the time. And so it's been really great. We've been getting a lot of really good data. Yeah, we had a bird 962 that had recently been missing and we were really worried about. And right, Danae jumped in on the cam yesterday, right?
Yeah, I believe she showed up there yesterday to the bath and was looking okay, was interacting with other birds and stuff. So yeah, that was a huge sigh of relief for us for sure.
Yeah, so the cams are just such a great tool. And I think most release sites now are incorporating them into their, when they set up their release sites, cams are part of the equation. And I know Chris, he was definitely prioritizing the cams when he was seeing stuff up there. And, we were telling him how valuable they were to us. And I know they probably provided you guys peace of mind up there on some of this.
That first winter, when we got the really heavy snowfall, so many trees came down. I know that there was over 100 trees between the bottom of the hill and where we turn off of the main road down our road. That was just over 100 trees on the main road.
Oh my God.
And then let alone the trees on our road. So we were in there with chainsaws in the snow trying to clear our road, and a lot of times going in on foot. But for a chunk of time, we couldn't get there. And all of Humboldt and Del Norte counties, which were kind of the northern edge of Humboldt, just south of Del Norte, both counties were out of power for over 2 weeks, like the entire counties. And our field site with our solar panels was basically the only place that I knew of that had ongoing power. So, and then we couldn't access, none of the staff, none of our houses had power. So we couldn't get onto our internets anywhere. So we were basically getting reports on our phones from people that were outside of our region, watching our cameras and giving reports on which birds were feeding. And so, you know, our really faithful Condor viewers really got us through that time. We knew which birds were feeding, which birds were active, which birds were coming around.
So awesome.
Even though we weren't able to regularly get on cameras, we had people kind of collecting that information, putting in our chat, and then we were able to get it from there and kind of keep track of what was happening. So really, our viewers are invaluable.
Yeah, we hear on that one. We definitely really appreciate all the data we get from our cam watchers, that's for sure.
Speaking of viewers, we have viewers this morning or this afternoon or this evening, depending on where you are. We have viewers from all the way out to Germany,
Wow.
the UK, Connecticut, New Jersey, Colorado, Virginia, Washington, Oregon. A lot of exposure today. We thank you so much, all of you who are tuning in. Could I do a little lightning round questionnaire? I got some questions that I think just require
Are there prizes involved
a
or
real
what?
quick answer, and I'll throw the first one to Danae.
Oh,
Sounds good.
We saw a condor on the scale. What do condors typically weigh?
Average is 15 to 20 pounds. Males are usually slightly heavier than females.
Okay, so I can understand a little bit the navigational challenges as birds are learning how to fly and landing on those really thin twigs. Next question, Joe. What is the current, you can be general on this, what is the current population size of condors in the wild total?
it's just over 300. We have 100 here. Southern California, Chris has 11 up there. Southern California is in the high 80s, and then Arizona is just under 100 birds. So yeah, we're almost right at 300 birds in the wild, and then there's another 200 or so in captivity. So we're I think the total world population is at 500, low 500s, coming from 27. So that's pretty darn good uptick.
Okay, next question, Chris. How often do you put carcasses out for your birds up there?
We're putting carcasses out. I was actually just thinking about that as I was listening to your crew talking about how frequently they're putting out carcasses. A lot of people joke about how hefty our birds are because we got a lot of birds jumping on the scale at 22 to 25 pounds. We've been doing it on a 6-day cycle, but I think we may extend that to a 7-day cycle, and we're usually putting out 2 or 3. We might pull back on that. We've been putting a lot out so that the young naive birds can compete with the older birds, but once they get a little more confident, we'll probably scale back a little.
Well, I remember a few years ago when we had a gray whale wash ashore. It fed the Central California flock for a little over a month, and I think we had some of the fattest condors that we had ever seen, taking advantage of that carcass, and not only the birds, but them feeding their chicks in the nest. It was just a bounty. And so I guess that weight can fluctuate a little bit depending on how the resources appear in the wild. Next question to whoever can possibly answer this is how long does it take an egg to develop? How long does it take condors to develop an egg? So I think the question is a little bit more challenging than how long it takes for the egg to hatch. I think the development of the egg, so maybe between courtship and development of the egg, laying of the egg, what is the time frame for condors?
For fertilizing the egg, or are you talking courtship and everything?
I'm talking about how long does it take a condor to develop an egg? That's what the question is. And so I would say,
So from the time it's fertilized, you know,
yeah.
it forms in the female, you know, goes down the oviduct and forms, and that's probably at least for the egg to form inside the female is 2 to 3 weeks. And then obviously they lay the egg, and then it's 57 to 60 days to hatch. Sometimes early, you know, there's a big range there, sometimes 55 days. Yeah, so you've got like, you know, add it all up, you're at almost 3 months from the time that egg is fertilized by the male, you know, and it forms and starts forming inside the female.
Should we be expecting to see courtship displays pretty soon?
Yeah, we've seen them, I think today. Didn't you see one?
Yeah, I know Cali Condor and other Explore viewers have been putting some screenshots on the Explore cams and stuff, but we've had a couple Big Sur pairs on the Big Sur cam that have already been displaying to each other. I think 209's been doing some displaying and 652 has been displaying. So yeah, this is prime condor courtship season from now through, you know, February-ish is when kind of the earliest we could start to see an egg laid, but typically more March.
Yeah, we've had like mid-January, our earliest eggs in Central California. In the zoos, there's always an egg laid around Christmas, so they'll probably have their first eggs in captivity laid here pretty soon. And for Chris, right, your birds are obviously not there yet, but they're creeping up on it. How old are your oldest potential up and coming breeders down there? What are we looking at timeline wise?
I think A1 and A0 are turning 5 this coming spring.
Awesome. Yeah, sure. You're about a year out. That's pretty exciting from a potential attempt. And they can go at 5, you know, I think with no pressure around down there, they could go, you never know. They could go earlier. But yeah, we know in captivity, 5-year-olds have bred. So that's not common. Obviously, that's pretty rare, but it's usually 6+, you know.
So it looks like a pretty peaceful scene there at San Simeon. All the birds are out. We'll be here until noon.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go back to the presentation and just kind of throw out I got a few more slides to share with the viewers before we wrap up, Mike, if that's cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I was hinting at. So yeah, go for it. And while he's doing that, does anyone know what the population is in Baja? It's a question from Nancy.
I think it's around 40.
And another question from Joanne, what does courtship look like? I'm not asking anyone to physically demonstrate it unless you want to, but if there's any way you can describe it, that would be interesting.
Sure. Yeah, the males typically males, but females will display too. I will demonstrate it because I'm a visual learner, but they put their wings out, not fully stretched out like they're sunning, but kind of a little bit drooped. And then they'll inflate all the air sacs in their face and their crop. So they get real puffy. And then the males kind of stretch their necks out and kind of hang their head down, swing it back and forth. And you can't see my feet, but they'll also kind of stretch their legs out and kind of waddle side to side like that. And something about that seems to do the trick. But yeah, typically males do it to females, but sometimes females will display back or they'll display to other males or females. And then, yeah, if everything goes according to plan, then copulation would follow that.
I think it's quite mesmerizing, and you have a chance to catch that on explore.org. If you're watching the camera in the next couple of months, you might be able to see one of those displays.
For sure, yeah. Yeah, so we always talk about Evan's amazing maps. Here's one. We showed this on our last release, but it's really cool. You know, we get the question a lot, you know, how long does it take them to disperse? You know, with having having such a big flock in Central California, that we've noticed with release birds, the dispersal speeds up because they have a lot of birds to follow. And I think this map that's generated by the GPS data from the birds and from our release birds at San Simeon really kind of shows you, like at the center, you see the small blue circle near the release site. That's month 2. And it represents only 2% of the overall range. And you expand out to month 3, you get the slightly bigger. And then month 4, you get to the green, the light green there. As you go out, and then the orange, and then you get down to month 6, and they're pretty much by month 6 into the 100% of the full range. Here he's got 65. So it's pretty quick. And I think, like we keep talking about the Northern California flock, I think that we've noticed as you get more birds out, that speed to which these birds expand their range kind of is almost proportional, to how many birds you got out there. So, it's basically 4 to 6 months now. In the early phase, at the early years, it was 2 years, before they would even do anything near, maybe 3 years before they did anything like this for our early release birds. So just goes to show you that momentum the flock can build. It's kind of a domino effect as you get more birds out there. It's pretty awesome. And just kind of the, what else does he have in here? I don't want to miss anything. Oh, he's showing the driving distance off to the left there of the different transfers this year to bring these release birds. Yeah, I definitely want to give shout out to LA Zoo and Oregon Zoo. Obviously, they raised the birds we release. And Oregon Zoo drove down over 850 miles to meet us and drop the birds off, which was really, really awesome. And obviously LA Zoo has been raising birds for years and a really close partner. They actually helped treat, they gave the life-saving treatment to 171 and a lot of birds that have had severe lead poisoning. So those guys are just really awesome. Yeah, Danae, this is a good one. Maybe you could.
Yeah, sure. So this is kind of individual map showing our release cohort from last year. So kind of a cool visual just to see how much variation there is too within cohorts. You can see 1099 Yarrow just kind of like with the most diversity of movement there, kind of really just covering a huge portion of that range. 1100 obviously we know is missing right now, so hers doesn't have quite as much data, but she explored all the way to Pinnacles, a Big Sur, before she went missing. And Wild Bill is still seen really often at Pinnacles and out on the coast as well on the Condor cam, and did some cool far south flights as well. And then Bucky, 1087, is a little bit more close to home. He still has not made it to either of the other release sites. He spent a lot of time at San Simeon for a while, and then has kind of been exploring some other places, still a little bit in the far south side of that range. And then it looks like Evan's put on there too, where those birds are most often radio signaled. So Wild Bill is about half the time at Pinnacles, little over, and same thing with Yarrow. They're slightly more often seen at Pinnacles, but you can tell from that map that they're still coming out to the coast to Big Sur as well. We haven't really seen them too much here at San Simeon, but every once in a while they'll pop back down here as well. And we're pretty much.
Wild Bill was there yesterday.
Yeah, I know he came by recently. And was in Big Sur recently. That bird's been, moving a lot back and forth recently. So pretty cool just to see how much they move. They're really, especially Wild Bill and Yarrow are fully integrated into the flock, and really cool to see them feeding with older birds. And you would never know that they're still young birds that were only released last year. They're definitely acting like total wild birds at this point. So it really doesn't take too long. And about this time next year, these birds will hopefully be doing the same thing.
I know, it's going to be interesting. See which site they go to first, whether they head to Big Sur first or over to Pinnacles.
Yeah, it's always a toss-up because they're kind of equidistant from San Simeon, so it's cool to see which one they gravitate towards, or most likely I think it's which birds do they follow over there. But yeah, pretty cool.
All right, thanks, Danae.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as we say, thank you to our volunteers. The tracking program volunteers are just knocking it out of the park, and explore.org, we've touched on that, how important those cam viewers have been. So big thank you to them. Obviously, thank you to all our partners. You know, we keep mentioning it, but obviously Fish and Wildlife Service, who oversees the program, Pinnacles, our partners over here in Central California, LA Zoo, Oregon Zoo, Oakland Zoo, Yurok Tribe, Redwood National Park, California State Parks, SPCA, Monterey County, big thank you to them. Obviously our veterinarian who volunteers her time, by the way, Dr. Amy Wells. And then of course, Monterey Regional Parks District, Bureau of Land Management, Big Creek Reserve, University of California, Santa Cruz, and that list could keep going, honestly. But those are the big ones. And yeah, just we can't, you know, it takes a village to do this. So big shout out to our partners. And of course, as Kelly mentioned in his video, can't do without our donors and our members for ongoing financial support. And there's just some stuff here, you know, you want to keep following us. We have Facebook. Is it Twitter or X? It's X now, right? Not Twitter. Yeah. X, Instagram, and we're Meredith posts all of our awesome videos on YouTube. And yeah, and you can obviously go to our website, find out more. It's listed here. You can learn more about individual condors. We have condor bios on all the birds. You can kind of see all their life histories and what they've been through. So please go. There's a lot of cool stuff on our website. And we have a Monterey County Gives match going on right now. And this is in addition to the Fish and Wildlife Service grant we get. The Monterey County Gives is matching a little more. And it's just a way, if you are going to donate it, makes your donation go a little further. So we always ask if folks can to donate during the Monterey County Gives campaign. And it will go through December 31st. So please jump in on the donations if you can. We also have a Adopt a Condor. This is a real popular program that we have. Different levels of adoption condors that come with personalized adoption kits, and you can find those on our website under the How You Can Help. So again, a lot of great ways to support the condors. Pretty easy. Just get on the website. It'll tell you where to go. And for our next Condor chat, January 25th. 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And you can sign up on our website. If you go right to the main Ventana website, it's right on the front page, a link there. And we will reveal the name of the five VWS birds we release at that January Condor chat. And we'll have updates on obviously how these guys are doing, these recent rookies. And there'll be lots of other stuff. That's going to be the start of nesting season. So I'm thinking today, by the 25th, we'll probably have our pairs lined up, who we think's going to go.
Yeah, I think we might have some juicy gossip. You never know.
Yes.
On our breeding season, so
yeah,
we'll have some good matchups for you, and yeah, some juicy gossip on who's the latest to.
The soap opera begins, right?
Yeah, we have some good breeding females that are coming of age this year that could breed for the first time, so we're getting excited about that.
Yeah, God, we have a ton coming online. Yeah, and we I'm already got my wheels turning on it, but yeah, it's gonna be fun. But again, thanks for turning out, everybody. It went as good as we could ask for, and again, we can't do it without everybody's support. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Chris, for joining us. Awesome, always awesome to hear about how things are going up north. We'll have to have you back again for an update and a few Condor chats to keep everyone posted what's going on. But we're all excited of the things to come up there, and just glad we could be a part of it and help you get to that goal, All right. And Danae, keep us posted. And thanks again for everything. Tell Isaiah and Maeve, thank you so much.
Yes,
and
I definitely will. They're out there keeping track of the birds, but they all four are doing great so far. So yes, thank you.
Yeah, big time thanks. And of course, Mike, for tackling all the hard questions and keeping us on track today.
Appreciate that. Danae, there's a question about volunteer opportunities. Are you recruiting volunteers at this time? And is there a way that people who are local here, is there a way for people to become involved?
Yeah, so the best way to do it is to email me. My email is on the Ventana website under the staff page. that's the best way to do it. We're not onboarding new volunteers at the moment, but I'm hoping to in the new year. It'll kind of depend on what the winter weather does and if the highway gets shut down, because that's where our volunteer trackers are tracking, is along Highway 1. So it depends if the highway gets shut down and all that good stuff. But depending on all that, I would like to onboard some new people in the new year, hopefully. So if you're interested in that and you have a flexible timeline, definitely shoot me an email and I can send you more information about that.
So Danae is your point of contact there. Joe, I understand this will be recorded.
Yeah,
Maybe,
and I got
maybe it
one
will
more
be
thing.
edited to our advantage. I don't know. We'll see. But when can we expect that recording to be available?
Oh, in the next couple of days, definitely by the end of the week.
Okay.
Yeah, so that Meredith will work her magic. Let's hope. Hopefully I didn't make too much of a mess of it, but yeah, she'll have it all cleaned up. And one more thing I wanted to mention on the merchandise side, if you do purchase anything off the website, you get a free Condor logo mouse pad. Everyone needs a Condor mouse pad. Do you have one, Mike?
Let's see. Mine looks like this.
There it is. That's the one. That's the
Okay.
one. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that sounds great. So yeah, check out our merchandise page. Adopt a Condor if you can.
It is Christmas
Don't get
time.
to keep the Condor. But it's a great package nonetheless. And look for our next web chat, our next Condor chat on January 25th.
Yep.
Want to wish everyone a wonderful holiday season. We look forward to seeing you again in the new year.
Yeah, happy holidays, everyone. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.